bring this meeting to order. Stuart Municipal Utilities Council Chambers, tentative agenda, Thursday, February 12th, 2026, 5:30 p.m. Call to order. Cobal? Caps?
Here.
Ingers?
Here.
Nelson?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
Okay, utilities, Crawford,
Here.
Herrick,
Here.
Sherman,
Here.
Belden,
Here.
AB here.
Okay. Agenda approval?
Make that motion? Yes.
Motion by Russell,
Second.
second by Carmen. How do you vote? Cobal? Caps?
Yes.
Ingers?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Okay, utilities, Crawford,
Yes.
Herrick,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Belden,
Yes.
AB, yes.
Number 4, joint meeting with City Council. Resolution number 26-04C, resolution authorizing and approving a loan agreement providing for the issuance of a $678,000 taxable general obligation insurance fund, note series 2026A, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. We'll turn it over to Chip.
You bet. Chip Schultz with PFM. So this financing, the city typically does a one-year borrowing for your insurance costs. That allows the city to take advantage of a lower tax levy by applying the levy against the TIF value as well as the base valuation of the city. We rolled this one into 3 years, so it's for fiscal year 27, 28, and 29. For the planning, I'd assumed a rate of 5.5%. I was able to get First State Bank to go along with a rate, and this is a taxable borrowing of 4.5%. The 5.5% to 4.5% saved the city roughly $20,000 in interest expense. So this is phenomenal and really turned out well. Meets the budget targets the city has in place for FY27 and gets the city a little over $600,000 of insurance funding. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or can give any other details that you might have.
Some questions? All right, need a motion.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Russell,
I'll second.
second by Caps. How do you vote? Caps?
Yes.
Ingers?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Okay. B, Central Mark 1 LLC TIF application. Matt Funk.
Thought I'd actually be a little bit farther down the agenda, considering the workshop, but the purpose of tonight's workshop is to take a formal action and to revisit whether this is an interesting or potentially beneficial project. The purpose is to ensure that we are aligned on what conditions must exist before any tax increment assistance is granted. Over the past several months, this project has gone through multiple layers of review. We began with developer's proposal and with a recommendation of a 65% 20-year pay-as-you-go structure. We confirmed that the structure protects the existing tax base. It does not require a tax rate increase and does not impact existing TIF districts. From there, the conversation has evolved. We examined utility capacity, sewer conditions, roadway coordination with Adair County, emergency service impacts, and broader fiscal sustainability. What became clear is that while the project brings significant private investment and a tax-based growth, it also raises legitimate infrastructure and operating questions that must be addressed carefully. The electric capacity appears manageable. Sewer lining needs were identified, though those issues predate the project. County road resurfacing plans are confirmed south of the interchange, but improvements north of that point would require the city. Traffic mitigation remains the primary unresolved technical issue and will depend on final engineering and DOT coordination. Financially, the retained increment under a 65% rebate provides benefit to the city of Stuart, but the margin is not large enough and operating cost increased materially. That does not mean the project cannot work. It means the structure and the conditions matter. So tonight's goal is to clarify and get direction. Specifically, we need guidance on whether council is comfortable negotiating with the 65% framework or whether alternative rebate structures should be modeled. We need direction on what infrastructure obligations must be required. We need to define what is non-negotiable before any formal approval is considered. And this is about aligning our public benefit with public concessions. If tax increment assistance is granted, it should be structured in a way that protects the city's long-term fiscal position and secures enforceable infrastructure improvements. My role tonight is to summarize where we are, answer questions, and obtain policy direction so that any future negotiation with the developer are grounded in clear council expectations. So do you wanna, I submitted a memo with some proposals or suggestions in there. I emailed it out, but it wasn't until like 3 o'clock. I don't know if anybody's had an opportunity to review any of that.
Have we gotten a study back from the DOT to determine what we actually need to do out there yet?
No, no, that's gonna be up to the developer to provide that.
Okay. Are they actively working on that, do we know?
Yes.
Okay. Any timeline on when to expect that report?
No, but working
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
Any other questions for Matt?
So, I can go over the estimated private investment is approximately $21 million. The projected assessed value increase takes the land out there from $874,000 to approximately $8.7 million. The estimated local option sales tax revenue is approximately $58,000, and employment will be 70 to 80 full-time equivalent positions.
Looking at the napkin math on that, the valuation over what we'd actually see, I mean, the $12 for every thousand, it would be about $104,400 for that 8.7 million valuation. So if we look at that 65-35 split that's proposed, I mean, you know, 67,000 to 36,000 would be the split of that, plus anything else coming out of it first. So I guess I don't know, I mean, does county take their slice first and other things, and then we get that down?
There are protected levies from TIF that each political subdivision gets to keep the debt service levy, as well as school pebble levies and an instructional support levy for schools. So, and I should clarify, the 65% was used because that was the level of TIF rebate that was needed to achieve the developer's requested amount. So that wasn't recommended, that wasn't pointed out as a policy direction. That's the threshold, and obviously, to me, the negotiating point is city should start somewhere below that threshold. So don't start there, start at, you know, whatever you want to start at, it's up to you. 40%, 50%, 30%, 0. Whatever you're gonna do.
Hold on, young man. I do have a little bit of a problem giving a company money when they're gonna be taking business away from 2 other businesses that are already here. As far as I know, didn't get any TIF. So I have a problem with it, I guess.
I get
I
it.
think you're in a tough spot, Matt. I think you've been working really hard, and we still seem to have questions, so I want to acknowledge that we appreciate your trying to get answers for questions that are unclear. I'll just be honest, I don't feel good about this proposal, and why I don't feel good about it are things like we're almost meeting, or, this financial statement that was just set. It doesn't, in my opinion, it just doesn't feel right yet for me to commit to anything, and I know you're probably thinking, what am I supposed to do then? I don't feel good about this proposal.
Zach and I met with, and we talked everything over, we looked at, there was a couple other hard costs that were talked about in there, I mean, obviously, we've got the sewer relining project, which is called out, which is about 200,000. You know, if we looked at a potential stoplight project out there, that was 500,000. If we looked at putting in a turn lane, that was a couple $100,000. I mean, with those projects alone, we were sitting about $1 million. You know, that, the sewer lining is a hard cost. We have to do that. We know we had to do that. It's something that we weren't planning on doing at this moment. You know, we have other soft costs in there, the potential impact to our emergency services. They're gonna spend more time out there. That's police, that's fire, that's EMS. You know, they're not saying they need extra help to cover that, but obviously we know the more they're out there, the less they're over here, and that can impact our services overall to where that pushes us closer to needing those extra hires further down the road. Those are all those things that we gotta keep in mind, you know, that's, we're looking at another EMS, you know, another bus. That's something we'll have to look at probably to get that second out more ready to go. And we know fire talked about repairs they need, and the police have got their, you know, equipment issues. So those are all things that are to compound on top of that.
So, farther down the memo there, for conversation, I mentioned a couple potential negotiation structures. Could do an initial rebate at 50%. Could do graduated. Could require the developer to fund the traffic mitigation, require participation in sewer improvements, lock in a 50% rebate value for defined public infrastructure, include a clawback provision.
Matter, Chip, can you refresh my memory? Looking at that table that they provided in their documentation, were they including the local option sales tax as part of that rebate coming back, or was that just a number that was in there and it was confusing looking at it?
I'm not sure.
I can't quite remember how that table was laid out, if what we decided on.
Well, we didn't make a decision.
Well, we didn't make a decision, but I know we were questioning, was it part of that calculated in the amount they were expecting to receive back? Is would they be clawing some of that local option sales tax as part of that?
I wouldn't propose to give them any sales tax.
No, I'm not
at all.
doing that. Like I said, I'm just trying to remember if that was part of their figures in what they asked for originally. So that could theoretically change our numbers to equal what they were originally asking for. If we say, well, no, you can't have the local option sales tax, that now adjusts what they would theoretically need to meet their target goal.
I think they included it in their application, I believe.
That's what I was trying to remember.
So, but that's, you know, they're not gonna get it,
Correct.
so.
Like I said, then that actually then skews it as that more 70-30 to meet their goal. If they remove that out there, you know,
I'm
that
not
could skew
concerned
that
with
number
their
to
goal.
get them what they want.
I'm not concerned with their goal.
Yes, I know. But they're gonna look at that as a
Right.
part of that negotiation. If we say, well, you can't have that, they're like, well, we're gonna bump that. So, just things I'm just pointing out we gotta keep in mind.
So,
I'd consider the reality too. I mean, are they doing this project anyway?
That's what I was gonna ask. Well, so I was just gonna ask, what if we offer nothing? What is the ramification of nothing?
I've conversed with Ender about that, and he has responded that he has property in Altoona, and according to him, Altoona is welcoming him, and he can take the project there. So that's what he
Yeah,
said.
sure. There's part of me that, I just worry about the strain on our infrastructure. And at 21 million, he's asking for 3, and he's gonna walk away and move somewhere else. I just, and maybe I'm being too short-sighted, because I can absolutely see the value that it brings to our community, but I don't know that that value offsets the impacts that are unknown.
Now, we do have some sewer infrastructure that needs to be addressed, and we do have some road issues that need to be addressed, whether they're here or not. Reality, from my experience of being on the city council, is that those items will never be addressed. This is an opportunity to piggyback those projects on this and get those items addressed now.
So an in-between proposal might be, you're gonna have him do the sewer work, the turning lane, road widening work, whatever needs to be done infrastructure-wise, and not do 65%, perhaps you do something in between. Pick your number, really. But you've gotta do some TIF rebate if you're gonna make him do the infrastructure.
Yeah, right.
That's,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's self-evident to everybody.
So the sewer lining, that's been an issue that's been ongoing. Public Works has been trying to address those throughout the city incrementally. Currently, you know, as long as if there's storms, then there's a problem, and then that could be a problem with the DNR. But we've been able to squeak by. We don't know how much longer we can squeak by. And the road out there does need some attention. If theoretically, if they were to come into town and we did not give them any TIF incentive, we could take the revenue as it comes in incrementally. But history tells me that we still won't address those issues. Things to consider. Could be an opportunity to get some infrastructure items taken care of.
You said 500 for the lights potentially?
Yeah, some ballpark number
It
we
was
were
about a
given.
million, I guess you said, didn't you?
Was that something ballpark from
Yeah.
Forest? Okay.
200 for the sewer.
200 for the sewer and then
One
a couple hundred thousand,
Which we
300,000
should
for
probably be
the
talking seriously about
turning
building
lane.
the sewer line anyway.
Correct.
Regardless of what happens. They're off the line, Zach.
From our meeting, there's just a lot, I mean, there's really no more answers here than what we had. Like, if we did the 65, we would be in the hole with the extra and the police and the EMS, right?
Again, those are soft costs that we don't know what the true impact are gonna be. I mean, obviously, we got the hard cost of the sewer lining.
I struggle with too, if you got the other two that didn't get any tip dollars, then helping these guys, I got a problem with that too.
Tough decision.
It is.
Maybe the council needs more time, apparently.
Or could we get the costs of, so, maybe you answered this and I'm sorry, but the roadway construction north of the county project, or this third bullet, is there a way for us to get a dollar amount on that? And we're pretty solid in the 200,000 for the sewer improvements, is that a pretty solid number?
Yeah.
Is there a way for us to get a much more solid number for this bullet 3, so we really know what that cost is?
The county is working on some numbers.
Okay.
So that would only cover though, from 110th Street south to where the old DOT lot driveway was.
Just past the
Yeah.
houses out there.
Yeah. That road apparently has a split. Half of it's the county, half of it's the city.
So if they're working on that portion, is someone else working on what would be our portion? Getting the numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually, Josh Renslow helped get a meeting scheduled with the county on that, and we did
Is
have.
Forrest working on this? I think is what she's saying.
Forrest has not been,
Okay.
he's
The
somewhat
council's not
privy of
approved
it,
that?
but no, it hasn't been before the
Okay.
council yet. It's just too preliminary yet.
And that's just for shoulder widening, right, that the county's doing
Shoulder widening and resurfacing.
and resurfacing?
Mhm. But it would not go north of
Yeah, it
110th
doesn't
Street.
take care of that intersection at
Yeah.
all.
Stops right before we need it.
So, but then at the same time,
We could tie that into.
from south of 110th Street to that DOT driveway, again, the county wants to do that, but we don't have the funds to even participate. Whereas if we can piggyback this off of the TIF request, you could potentially participate with the county in getting that road addressed. We're in the same situation with that road as we are with White Pole Road. And this one here has been 15 years, has been back and forth. And where's the funds gonna come to share with the county?
Is that county project gonna start in 27, is that right?
That's their goal.
Does the council need more time?
I don't know if I need more time, but I would like more clarity around the numbers, if we can get it. This feels like a big fight to take on assumptions and approximations, and I know we can't get an exact number, but I would just feel better if I had some better clarity around the numbers for those two pieces,
For the county road? Or is that, which pieces
for
are
the
you talking
roads and the sewer. I mean, I think the sewer's 200,000, so for the roads.
Potential lights and
Yeah.
the turn lane and all that jazz.
Because I do agree with Trevor that regardless of where this goes, if we have sewer and road needs, then we need to be talking about that, whether this moves forward or not. And I also understand your statement of this might be a way to get some of that done, but I don't feel good voting until we know, until I know.
This isn't asking for a vote.
Oh,
What are you
I'm not comfortable, I guess I should say.
Direction.
Direction? Well, we need numbers,
Right.
we need solid numbers.
So the county road is the only thing that's in question regarding numbers.
Okay.
The traffic lights is 500,000, turn lane 200 to 300,000, sewer lining 200. Then there's been talk about potentially trying to get a gas line under I-80.
Did you at all talk to TA and Quick Star to see if they would talk with Mid-Americans? That'd be advantageous for them to try to work a deal out
So
about that.
it's been an extremely busy month, and fortunately, there's been a Jody Hoadley has got wind, and she has helped, and she has got Mid-American contacted, and I have had an email started with Ender of Travel America regarding that, but I haven't been able to follow up anymore with that. Ender's interested in having a meeting about that. I have not had an opportunity to reach out to Quickstart yet.
Okay. Like I said, I don't know if we need to be involved in that as a cost share, but between them and Mid-American, I think that would be a no-brainer for them to all three go in together and extend that, so.
Quick Star's already set up for natural gas, or propane, and all the houses are already set up for propane. I wouldn't be switching my appliances to natural gas just because there's a pipe running there. It's a huge expense, but it's a lot.
Cheaper for them for natural gas in the end, at least on the commercial side, so.
So, but that question has come up multiple times. So, now, believe me, if you want to kill it, honestly, it makes it a whole lot easier for me.
I just wanna be smart,
So-
so.
Matt, do you feel like you got the information that you're looking for from the council?
No, I don't really. I mean, you want me to try to entertain negotiations with them at a reduced rate? Or a reduced, instead of the 65?
Yes.
The 65 should be a discussion.
Yeah, I think that's astronomical that they're asking for 65. Personally, I don't know what you guys think. Yeah, I really like zero.
Yeah.
Is that realistic for this project? I don't know.
Well, I think what Chip said, if we're gonna say zero, then these costs, we can't also ask them for
Well, of
these
course not, yeah.
costs.
No,
So
I agree.
if you're, so what I heard you say is we're at about $1 million. If you feel good about that number, that it's $1 million, then I wouldn't have problem with you going at 65 down to 10.
So
Or-
they're asking
and-
for 3 million across 20 years.
Yeah.
Is that the payback? So they're gonna wanna give us a third of that off the bat?
Well, there's many ways to structure it. You can have the developer pay for that. If you have the developer pay for those improvements, then you give them back a percentage of their tax dollars.
May I ask a simple question?
Sure.
What do you guys think that you're losing out on if they simply just walked away today?
I mean, obviously, we're gonna lose out on the taxes it generates, the local option sales tax it generates, and the potential, you know,
Property tax.
60 to 80 jobs that would produce for our community, which is beneficial. There's also, I hate to say the term negatives, you know, there's things on the other side of that fence. I mean, obviously, it's a bigger strain on our EMS. You know, there's stigma around truck stops, you know, and some of the things they attract, unfortunately. Not saying we don't have that already, but we're adding another 160, 120 spots for trucks to park. I mean, that's going to increase some of that undesirable issues out there. You know, that's that side of the stick that we have to, you know, weigh against. And I mean, we're already living that for the most part with what we have, so it's just extra time for our EMS.
I think there's something about I think there's something about people stopping at our exit. Is there a way to collaborate and get them downtown? I wonder about that. But I think it's jobs and the potential of traffic and moving them downtown. But those are all potential to me. It's not something that I feel like is written, this is gonna happen, you know.
Can I have a question? I mean, another thing is, we could look at the length. We don't have to give them 20 years. That's my biggest trouble with this. We're giving them 20 years worth of, I mean, you can knock it down to 5 or 7. And if I did that and they came back with a scaled back project, I would scale back my offer also. I mean, that offer would be at the level they're doing now, for me.
And just to tag on to that, whatever you put in there for your, if it's 5 or 7 years, you put a minimum assessment agreement in there for 20. So if they go bankrupt, they're still paying taxes on the 20, whoever owns it. Secondly, if they come here and you guys do absolutely nothing, you can do your road, you can do it's an assessment. You do a 100% assessment on the property owners that are joining it. So you got Quickstar and you got the TA assessing that, so you know that. So anyway, so you don't have to eat the cost of the road. You could assess them. You could do it now. You don't have to, you don't have to have it built. You can run the assessment and just put the road in. And they can pay it in their taxes now.
And on the sewer costs that you talk about, when's the last time sewer rates were raised? Has it been 20 years, did I hear, or something like that?
Yeah,
So, you know, there's other
It's
options too
ridiculous.
besides
So-
tying up.
But I want to, and Brian pointed out a very good point of doing assessing, but not very many people want to be the one that's on the city council at the time that says, hey, we're going to put this road in,
They
and
come on. It's either the residents pay it or the people on the interstate and the truck stops pay for it. So that's an easy choice.
And the one truck stop we have has already increased traffic by probably about 100% as far as trucks go. I live
And
right
didn't
next
get
to it.
anything.
And they widen the road on their own, right? That didn't-
Correct.
Yeah, but it's not, it's shot already. They've already redone it once, so,
So,
I think you guys are on the right track.
yeah.
so what kind of direction do you want to give Matt?
I would say reduce the percentage, reduce the years, and try to negotiate some of these costs,
okay.
my opinion.
Do you have a number in mind?
I mean, that's the question. I mean, what of those improvements are we truly looking for? I mean, yes, the stoplights are nice,
do we have to have?
Do we have to have them, especially for that one? I mean, yes, that traffic's probably gonna be a nightmare, we're gonna wish we put that in, but on the hindsight, on, you know, the other side, that's the only place we have traffic lights in the city. Does it make sense? I don't know. I'm not a traffic engineer.
To me, the road is the most important, learning that sewer hasn't been raised since 2012. I feel like that's something that can be corrected. Obviously, it's not gonna pay for the project, but I do think that if I were to pick one, I would say the roads.
Yeah, and if we can get in with the county, that's gonna make it cheaper for us, instead of us doing our own project.
That's also, there's that part of the project, and are you talking just that part, or are you also talking putting in the turn lane, which was about 300,000?
The whole thing.
Yeah,
The whole thing.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be 500,000 plus the, you know, I'm imagining that spot's gonna be a couple $100,000 at least to do that project. I'm just throwing numbers out, so we look at that with what we already know with the turn lane, with what we know of the sewer, you know, you're 700,000 potentially.
Last point, you gotta think of cannibalization, so the numbers they provide you don't net out the jobs if Quickstar closes, if Comigo closes, or Maverick, whatever. So that 70 to 80 is before that, so the net number may be half of that, at what average hourly rate? I mean, I don't know.
Do you even know if the DOT would allow the traffic lights to be put in that close to the intersection?
No idea.
I know we dealt with that a long time ago when we were talking about traffic lights out on this side of the interstate, and I think that got squashed at the time, so.
All good points, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I know we had that study that was going on to look at the traffic out there and potentially look at stoplight cameras or whatever, and did they really come back with something? I know they kind of finished up, but I don't know if we've really got anything back on what that is, and I think you mentioned something that they're not looking at extending those lanes, so that could be potential backup if we put in stoplights in that area, I mean.
We split that with shared services in City Hall at like 85-15 or something, and last I checked with Forrest, he hadn't gotten an okay from the DOT, so.
And those traffic numbers will change definitely once it's built.
Yeah, it's gonna bring
Right.
traffic for sure.
I find it hard to believe you're gonna get by without traffic signals if that opens up.
But can we even put them in, like Neil said, it's gonna be so close to that off-ramp.
Well, you know, the DOT would get involved if traffic starts backing up on the interstate like they did in
Well, I
DeSoto.
think they have an opinion before.
Right.
that's
They
going
do,
on.
but, that's what happened at DeSoto when they finally got that done.
Yeah.
Westbound traffic was backing up all the way to the interstate on that.
It still does.
Not like it did, not like it did.
It might finally open up a conversation of a second interchange into Stuart though.
Right.
Ash, the last 5 years of this little table, you're making what, $100,000 to $200,000 in your reserves on sewer incrementally?
Yeah.
So you could pay cash for your sewer improvements
In 1 year?
yearly, yes. So,
In 1 year? Okay.
take 1 year's net income from your sewer,
Yeah,
you don't have to
sewer's the
reserve.
least amount of work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
There's your line item.
Float that.
I guess I'd like to see a traffic study from the DOT or whoever before I'm cool with negotiating anything.
Yeah, guess you got your hand full. So, instead, one more minute, you gotta get more stuff to do.
So, you're waiting, you want results from the traffic study, and then convene again?
Well, you're talking the other traffic study we did, or what
Well,
TA?
TA is supposedly looking into the lights and turn lane and all their stuff.
Okay.
That's just a guess until it happens.
Sure, but if we can get an actual study done that they're supposed to be working on, apparently.
Mr. Russell, can you and Mr. Engworth, can you guys regroup with Mr. Funk and you guys kind of talk this out? I think there's good discussion here tonight. I think you guys, if you guys all huddle back and visit a little bit more, and I think that'll give Matt a little more direction where he needs to go. So, good with that, okay?
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. All right. C, City Administrator Recruitment. This is a joint discussion.
Yes. We have Marquita.
Marquita, we'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I'm Marquita Oliver, and I'm with Thea Management, and I collaborate with Brent Henson from Henson Consulting and Mark Jackson from Jackson Consulting, and the three of us, we are all city management professionals in our day jobs, And then we collaborate on these recruitments, and we have a passion for it, and we have a lot of, among the three of us, we have quite a bit of experience in city management and in Iowa, and we know the people, we know the players, and we know, who's interested in moving and who would be a good fit and that kind of thing. So we do have a good relationship with our colleagues from around the state, which is helpful when doing recruitments such as this. And I think you probably have copies of our proposal there in front of you, and I would just entertain any questions. And you're welcome. I can provide you with additional information on our credentials. I think we have our LinkedIn information in there, so you can look us up and see, the jobs that we do.
My kid has been in business for a while and has a good reputation of recruiting. She will do a good job.
So I just have one quick question.
Sure.
So from if I remember right, reading through here, like the maximum cost to the city and it would be $18,600, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's everything.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. And we find on the expense side, it usually comes in a little lower.
Okay.
She provided a guideline. If you guys would like to give her the go-ahead,
Yep.
she's ready to start.
The timeline that's in there, obviously the beginning pieces would be slipping a few weeks because it was originally, would have started in January. But I do think that we can still end right about the same timeline, because I built some wiggle room in there.
So one other thing that was discussed the last time was the need for an organizational review. And I'd like to see that personally as a part of this, that you guys offer.
Oh,
I'd actually talked with Mark about this before.
Sure.
So just a top-down suggestions, this is how other towns do things or don't do things, and if everything's set up perfectly, then fine. If there's suggestions that we consider, that'd be a part of that. And I'm assuming that's a separate fee?
It is, and I collaborate with another colleague on that. Both of us are credentialed HR professionals and, with a background, a strong background in finance. But yeah, in fact, I think I'd submitted a proposal at one point. I can bring that out, dust it off, and submit that as well.
What's the upside cost of that could actually be a cap?
I think it's around $6,000.
Okay.
And what we do, we start with desk audits of everybody, and we start there, and then we look at, your processes, your procedures, things like that. We'll pull out your old audits, go through those, see, what the recurring themes are, and see if those can maybe be addressed with some different process changes. I know that when I first began in my current role, we had consistently a small community, consistently would have the segregation of duties in there. And so my goal was to eliminate those from our audit. And I collaborated with my colleague and said, who was in her day job as my finance director, and said, hey, I'd like to eliminate these, and let's figure out how we can do that. How can we reorganize? We only had 6 people at City Hall, so it was, how can we reorganize things to eliminate these? And we were able to figure that out and eliminate like 2 pages worth of ongoing audit comments, things like that.
So that's 6,000 total.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the
Yeah.
other. On top of the other, okay.
Right.
So,
How does the timeline for that service affect the timeline for the?
good
It
question.
does not.
Okay.
No. Two
Say that
separate
again,
things.
what was that answer to that
The
question?
question was, how does that affect the
Yeah.
timeline for the recruitment? It does not.
So the only concern I would have, because that's a good question, is if they don't run parallel, do you hire the right person if the org structure changes?
Yeah, I would have that same question.
I think they would run, they would run parallel, but it
Okay.
would not hold up your recruitment. Because your recruitment, you're gonna have, the advertising is gonna be out there for 30 days. Just open, it needs to be open for 30 days. And leading up to that, we do interviews with stakeholders to develop the profile. So if we're running those concurrently, you can kind of, that information would be available to the candidates of what that structure may look like.
Not to say that there would be, automatic changes or something,
Right.
it's just more of,
It's more of like a roles and
Sanity check. Yeah,
responsibilities,
sanity check.
not a, oh gee, you need 10 more people, or, but part of that consideration is, hey, over the next few years, maybe you need, as you grow, maybe you need to staff up. So, that's part of that consideration too, but typically it's like, hey, this person is doing this over here, and it seems like maybe this should go over under this side, and this, and, to streamline that a little bit, kind of thing.
there's been a lot of stability and a lot of financial, you can have this, I'll give this to you, but, just, we're in a good spot. And so it's just, are there some other things that exist that could change or, be enhanced that we don't do today?
So outside of audit, looking at it from the audit perspective, do you also look at it from just processes that aren't related to finance? So I think that we could all probably agree, we don't have a super strong IT presence at the
Sure.
city. So instead of adding that to Sarah's job or someone else's job, is there a place that you could create this is the best, and then these are the steps to get there?
Sure, yeah, we can make some recommendations on your IT.
Well, and even
There's
certain things
a
like
lot
that
of
might be an
opportunities
outsource
out
thing.
there for that.
So
I'm s-
even certain things like that would be more like, it might be an outsource thing.
Right,
You would recommend.
right.
Okay.
I do know that, like, the league, for example, they sort of promote an IT in a box, and it's a company for a lot of smaller communities. But there are, particularly given your location, there are a lot of opportunities for outsourcing your IT. I know that, I know a lot of cities are using a service that, they come in, like to our place, they come in once a week, go around, check everybody's computers, are you having problems, do you need anything, 24/7 support service, that kind of thing, so.
The former mayor back there said you agreed to be our interim, so I just want to tell you thanks.
And I think
My
IT
plate's
is,
full.
I think IT is just one,
Sure.
is one example that we just talked about this week,
Yeah.
so.
And part of that desk audit process, that kind of stuff will come up, like what could run smoother, what could be tweaked a little, so.
So you just got to see an example of economic development back and forth, and that's been going on for months, so those are the types of things, process-wise, that Angie mentioned, that it's just,
And maybe one of the things that might come out of that is maybe developing an economic development policy so that, your staff has their guardrails from the beginning. And maybe that's inclusive of, hey, we will rebate TIF, but only to put in public infrastructure. And so we'll rebate it up to, we want our 5 to 7 year return on investment, and we'll rebate it up to the amount it costs to put the infrastructure in, and that's it. So that if somebody asks you, hey, why are you giving them TIF, but you didn't give them TIF? You can say, well, we needed to invest in this infrastructure, and we could either go bond and incur that to do it, or we could rebate this developer who then has the money up front and expense up front and takes the risk up front, and then has an incentive to grow and get his money back. So just those kinds of things.
Outside of pushing the timeline back that you have provided here, is there a downside to doing the look at the organization ahead of recruitment? Is there a downside to doing one?
I don't think so.
Just-
I
we're
think
just
those
farther out from it.
I think those dovetail nicely, because anytime you have an opening, it's good to take a look around and say, hey, do we have people doing the right roles and responsibilities? And maybe this person has a little too much on their plate, and this person can pick up some of that and that kind of thing.
Does anybody know when the last time we had a review like that?
Have they ever had?
Not in
one?
20 there's that side to it, but there's also, if we're not sitting where some of these other towns that are on the news are currently.
Right.
So there's a stability to be thankful for, and there's always things to look at to change, so it's just that happy
I'd be in favor of the review, so
Absolutely.
I'd like to make the motion to do the review.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll second that. But do we want to add to that for her recruiting? And that's on the utility side, so.
Yeah.
when we do that, are we doing something with each one of these as like a cost share between the two?
Well, I don't know, in the council, if they, that's up to
Well,
them.
if it's a shared employee, wouldn't we share the costs the way we share salary?
That's what,
Well,
yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
just
what
meant
he's
for
asking.
each one of these services that we're gonna be voting on
Like
potentially,
65% of his-
are we doing 50/50? Is that?
You guys
we
also
could-
wanna
we
do
could
the
call it
same
50%.
organizational
Yeah,
review.
Yeah, I'm
I'd half and half.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're gonna. Trevor?
I figured we would do half and half, I thought that would.
So did I.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know why we do it different.
I'm in favor of an organizational review. I probably wouldn't vote if it included this next piece. I would like to keep them separate and take a look at the organizational review and then make our decisions and then move. That would be my preference.
I would agree.
Do the organizational review first and then come back and look at recruitment. Okay,
I'd like,
we can make that
But
happen.
that's gonna
I
push
think,
us
yeah, I
further
don't
out.
agree with that at all. We've already lost a month,
It
so.
will push you
Yeah.
further out.
Yes.
So how much would that push us out?
Probably about 6 weeks.
That's
That's
fine.
quite a ways.
Well, yeah, if you're doing separate, it would push you out 6 weeks?
Yeah, it would push us out
Yeah.
about 6 weeks.
I'd rather, to me, I'd rather have them doing it concurrently, if you don't think it would hurt the hiring process.
I don't think it would hurt the hiring process.
So, utility-wise, I'd second your motion if we could add the recruitment side to make them go concurrent.
Yes,
Because-
let's go ahead and add it.
Yeah.
By the time you're doing interviews and getting down to final you're gonna have the answers on this other study, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right, because your job description's gonna be kind of a high view description anyway. And then we can refine it at that point where we hire.
So you wanna do it together?
She's recommending that she can do it together, so
Okay,
I agree
that's-
with Charles and second
If
his
it's not
motion to
gonna
add the
affect-
recruiting.
If it's not gonna affect, it'll be good to do it together, because I'm not gonna be here.
Well, that's my point, yeah, so you're off, hold on, so you're not gonna be here in March, you're not gonna be here in March,
Yes,
so,
I'm taking my vacation
I get it,
time.
that's what I'm saying, so that's.
I think Angie and I's hang up on putting them together is, I'm not totally sold on using the hiring agency. I think we've got a real potential to save some money by doing that part on our own. I think that's our hang up.
I don't have a problem, I feel like the hiring piece of it comes with credibility and I want to be able to use it. I want the ability to pivot at the end of project one. If it comes back and she says, oh my gosh, look at this opportunity, and it doesn't match what we are recruiting for. I want the ability to pause and say, oh, now we're recruiting for job description A or whatever. So I feel like running it concurrently could potentially box us in on a change or a pivot if we're already, like, publicizing it.
6 weeks may seem like a long time. I would just go back to 6 weeks may seem like a long time, but in the scheme of things and in the scheme of your organization, it's probably not that long. I could also probably try to find some names. There are retired city managers there who could come in, some of them who are willing to come in as an interim and, help with the day-to-day stuff during those time periods if there's a big
I don't think
labs
the problem
between.
is not a day-to-day, Makila. The problem is, if you are telling us that you can both, do both together, why not?
Why
do
wait,
it,
right.
That's what I'm trying to say, if you can do them together, because most of the stuff that you're gonna do for improvement is gonna be taking time. You and I know that.
Right.
Segregation, all the stuff, it's not a magic thing, you put your hand on it and then it's gonna be fixed next month. You have to hire me. So that's really what you're gonna come down to. Because when you have 2.5 people doing 10 people job, obviously with any recommendation, you have to have more people. The process itself can be changed, but you're talking about long time. Marquita will give you that process. But I don't think Makita will be able to tell you, hire 10 people tomorrow.
Right.
See, we're talking reality.
To your point about job description A or job description B, when you're hiring the city manager position, that you're still, like, in terms of, regardless of what that structure is gonna be, the skill sets that you're looking for are still gonna be the same. They're gonna be management, financial, economic development, personnel management. So, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. And to your point about hiring yourself, obviously, I understand, I'm here, I'm the consultant. Whether it be me, or our group, or someone else, I would encourage you, you have so much opportunity here. You know, given your location, given your, I mean, you guys are, it will be a very competitive recruitment, but it should be a national recruitment that is professionally run. That you will get your best candidates that way. So, whether it's us or someone else.
No, I appreciate it, and it was nothing against you guys.
Oh, no,
So-
I understand. And I do understand, sometimes you look at that price tag and you go, oh my gosh, that's a big price tag. But in the scheme of things, it is a very modest investment for what you're gonna get in the long term.
And I would,
Let's go ahead.
I would recommend going with what you just said. You're investing little bit on having a good next city administrator or manager, because you don't hire administrator every day. It's once, and you might be lucky that he will stay like I stayed for 32 years. If you get the right one, it's worth it. It really is to invest in who you hire. Throughout what she does, and I've known her for a long time, she does a good job, she will get you the right person. It's worth it to invest the money on getting the right person here.
I agree that it's worth it. I agree 100% with what you said.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we're not rushing and that we're making very thoughtful decisions. I think one thing that we've heard about the council for years and years and years is that it's rush, rush, rush. And I just feel like if 6 weeks could give us more clarity, is the right thing to do to get that clarity and then move forward. And I appreciate your, you know, this is the job description and the areas. I just, it feels better to me to go slower, spend that money, but go slower and make sure that we aren't missing an
I
opportunity.
think the main thing for me would be, once we're to that point where we're ready to hire, as long as we know what that structure is at that point, when we hire, that's the important part.
I
Not
agree
so
with
much that we need to know it all up front, but
So-
it's when we start bringing in candidates to interview, that's when we need to know what the structure is.
So we're gonna pause. That is, if we haven't met our expectations of this organizational review, that we ask that you wait before you
I don't think we can
interview.
interview until we know what that
Right.
structure is gonna, personally, I wouldn't want to interview before we have a good idea what that structure is. We may not know it completely, but we may know that we want to split up, like, say, the responsibilities that Ash has, we may want to move that across different positions.
Okay.
We need to know that before we start interviewing, I think.
And you've confirmed you can run these concurrently, right? With not seeing a gap from one to the other.
I would suggest, here's my suggestion, is that maybe what we do is we do maybe a hybrid. And we start the organizational review, and then we bump the city management piece or the recruitment piece by 3 weeks. And that way you can have a more comfortable feel about where we are with the review when you're to the point where you're interviewing candidates.
So, question on something you mentioned earlier, knowing that you've done some hiring recently in the area. You know, you mentioned national candidates. Did you see a lot of distant candidates applying for, like, the Adele or Avoca or anything like that?
Yeah, we had several out-of-state candidates with Adele. We saw, I don't know what's going on in Arizona, but I've seen a lot of Arizona people lately. Currently in our, we're currently in another recruitment we're doing. We saw, you know, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ohio. So we've seen regional, but also full nationwide. So, and Florida.
The last meeting, the holdup was finding out
Cause
something.
I was like, are you sure? It was like 20 below, I'm like, have you been to Iowa?
The last meeting, there was holdup about trying to find some sort of HR need, and so that's not discussed tonight. Now it's something about the time period. So I guess we've got you here, you're the professional here. You and Ash both recommend to run these concurrently, so I agree with Charles, and that's, yeah.
I see value in having some lag to the two processes, just because, again, if we come back after that 6 weeks review and we go, wow, these are big changes, are these what we wanna make, do we wanna make them? Is that gonna affect people's opinion after we've already interviewed them and like, oh, hey, guess what, we completely changed our mind about some things, we're doing this, this, and this now.
But you're gonna change your mind on something a year down the road that this new person's gonna have to do anyway, cause it's their job and we're their boss. So we may ask more or less of that same person, so the
And they
the
can ask for
dynamic-
changes too, we don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
But
That's my point.
So,
Nothing's-
what can you get to us in 3 weeks, and can we have a meeting to talk about the next step in this in 3 weeks as well? Like, is that what we're talking about now?
I'm not proposing a meeting in 3 weeks. I'm proposing that we are not just gangbusters on both of these projects. Like, kind of what Dan said, like, or the hybrid. Can we see some work and then you can be working concurrently on the recruitment, but can we have just a place to pause and say, we all agree we're headed in the right direction? And I hear what you're saying about changing job descriptions, but I think it speaks to the integrity of the employer to not change it through recruitment. A year later,
Well, that's what I mean, we don't know when something like that's gonna, it hasn't, when's the last time that job description changed?
This is 52 years ago.
Okay, so you're telling me that job description hasn't changed in 32 years?
You might
It's-
wanna update
it's
that a
new
bit.
code.
Hold on, nothing with it. So your
We
job
wanna
description
update
hasn't
that.
changed in
My
32
job
years?
description is in the city code.
Okay, but,
So I don't change it, we
So
change
that-
the city code.
right, so that's my point. So your
Yeah.
duties have changed in 32 years, correct?
Of
little
course,
bit?
you do way beyond what's in the city
So-
code. You see what I mean?
I'm,
But I don't know, how can I make you happy? We're just trying to get her started.
is there,
I'd like to make a point, if I may.
Yeah.
I am all for the organizational review. I don't know if it should be done at a time when we are going through such huge change and nothing will be operating as it usually does.
very, very good point.
Cause that's gonna make a lot more work on you.
That's not.
On everybody.
That's a great
On
point.
everybody.
But nothing will be status quo at the
Right.
point that the review is happening. So I think if anything is going to wait a little bit, it should be the review until we get back into a groove.
So,
Well, I wouldn't expect your
Yes.
processes to change immediately though either. If you're,
Yes.
it would, I mean, it wouldn't change how you're doing things tomorrow if you decided that. That would take time. And you're gonna have that anyway with the new administrator.
I think we're micromanaging these two professionals,
Yeah.
telling them when and what to do, because
Right.
Is that, no,
They should
we're
have the
trying
free will
make
to do
everybody
this.
happy.
Well, and-
We just, what Sarah's trying to say is, if you get the review, you get it from someone to take it and start to grade on it. Get that someone first, and then give him the review.
But to Angie's point, if you are going to change a lot and this person took the job, it's one thing to change a job duty 10%, it's another change 70 off of a review. That's
Right.
plain devil's advocate. I understand your point. It'll
I
be,
do too.
Marquita's gonna ask 100 questions about what you do today, what you do tomorrow, and all that. So that's gonna be more work when you're gone. So I'm just saying, throw it over the wall, you guys figure it out, and you guys tell us what you need from us.
Right.
That's all I'm getting. You have a list of cities here that you've hired for.
Well, that process review, that's the employees anyway, that's not us, correct?
Right,
Well, but,
right.
you know, it is.
The stakeholder interviews, we would do stakeholder interviews in the recruitment process. The desk audits, that's staff level, where we sit
Right,
down with
right,
them and,
sure.
yeah.
And you
So
pull
they
the
would be
audit
telling
that
us
you were
Right,
talking
exactly.
about, the
So
paper
I'm
audit.
with you. I'm just saying.
And those, we can pull off the
Yeah,
website.
Correct.
Off
That's
of
not
the
work for
state
Sarah.
website. That's not work for Sarah, no.
Yeah, okay.
And your budgets, we can pull from the Department of Management, and, I mean, we may ask for a few reports, from your system. I don't know what kind of software, do you run Summit or, well, it's
Geoworks.
Geoworks, yeah. So we may ask for a few of those reports, but a lot of the information is available at the state level.
So how can we make everybody happy?
As we say, a lot of good discussion here, really good discussion, a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty. I think we're rolling in the right direction. However, it's confusing to where everybody wants to be. So I think we're on opposite sides of the spectrum with some people. However, we do have a motion on the table. We do have a second as well. So we're gonna have to go through that process. You either pass it or you let it die and somebody make another proposal. So, Sarah, could you please read back the motion, please?
Sure, so it was moved by Herrick and seconded by Beldam to authorize review of the organization up to $6,000 with the city paying half and the utility paying half. And then I was going to ask for clarification to see if this motion also includes approving hiring the management consulting to recruit.
I think
That's
it
what
should.
I added to it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
okay.
think it should include.
Also with
The
the
hiring.
city paying 50% and the
Correct.
utility paying 50%.
And are these running concurrently?
That's what.
I think with the professionals, what they said, I would be comfortable with letting them run concurrently. I mean, if you wanna do the hybrid, three-way hybrid, I think that would be wise to
I
do
don't think,
that.
yeah, the motion's not specific,
So-
just leave it up to them
Yeah.
because they're gonna know the.
I'd like it in the motion.
We
Yeah.
need clarity in the motion.
Yeah. So the motion is to let him do both? Okay,
Yes.
that's the
what
motion.
That's what
That's
Chuck's,
what the motion is.
Charles's
Alright.
motion is, yes.
So.
But you're hearing, the city council's not in favor of the concurrent. So we're making a motion for them,
I
that's,
think that it's the hybrid,
Right,
right?
it
The
was-
hybrid.
It was Charles's motion.
Yeah, I think that's what they want.
We
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
let this
so-
motion
Just
carry.
amend the motion.
Okay, we're gonna do that motion to do both
Concurrently.
concurrently.
And do you
There's
want the
nothing-
hybrid
there's
or
nothing
not?
wrong with the hybrid either, they're,
No.
No.
it gets them in their hands.
Just
Charles
the
does not.
regular?
Just let the professionals. do
Yeah,
it.
that's where I'm
Okay.
at.
Okay.
It's
Okay, so
what
that's-
deals.
Right, yeah.
That's the motion then, and it's been seconded by Mr. Belton then. Okay. City council, how do you vote? Caps?
No.
Ingworst?
No.
Nelson?
No.
Russell?
No.
Okay, utilities, Crawford.
I mean, does it matter at this point? Because it's a 50-50 split, so,
Well, you gotta vote, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'll vote,
We
but
can vote.
Still,
I'm in favor of it, so yes.
Okay, Herrick,
yes,
Sherman,
No.
Belden,
Yes.
Avy.
yes.
So it's,
So can we amend the motion to say that we will move forward the hybrid, where she's gonna do some work that doesn't weigh on Sarah, and we'll just have a contact point and then move forward with the recruiting service. So the
I don't-
hybrid that she explained.
So that would be another motion.
Yes,
That's a
that's the
motion.
motion.
Yes, that's a motion.
I would second that.
And that's a second to the motion.
Okay. I was pausing.
Putting pressure on you.
I was pausing.
Okay, so,
Just a question during that, as we extend out the process for the hiring, we're getting closer to Ash no longer being here, and are we okay if he's not here when we actually are in that process of interviewing and hiring for the next person?
I don't think it's gonna be.
Okay, we may not
I
like
would
any of the
say-
candidates.
I would say it's unusual for the sitting administrator or manager to be involved in that process anyway.
Okay.
So it is not at all unusual to not have that person here.
I'm gonna put a I was gonna cut my vacation. So I can be involved, but if you don't want me, thank you. That's good. I will be heading to Florida.
Okay, Deputy
Okay,
Clerk.
so there is a motion, move, second.
And can you go ahead and reread your motion again for the record?
So moved by Caps and second by Nelson to move forward with approving the hybrid approach, which is starting the review process of a cost up to $6,000 with the city paying 50% and the utility paying 50%. And 3 weeks later to approve Thea Management Consulting starting the recruitment process for a city administrator for a cost of $18,600 with the utility paying 50% and the city paying 50%.
So,
There's your-
I don't think we need to reconvene to approve step 2. Maybe I didn't make that clear. I would entertain us improving
Do it.
1 and 2 tonight.
Yes.
The built-in 3-week stop is for us to just look at where we're at, but no further approval for funds.
So what's the difference between this motion and the first one? Because the first one's a hybrid, correct?
No.
No,
it's
no,
not.
no.
That's why they're doing it.
Okay.
So I think we approve all the funds now.
Yes, just the process is starting 3 weeks later, but you are approving engaging her.
And how long does it take to do a review?
It usually takes about 6 weeks to make sure we get all of our stakeholder desk audits done and all of that
So it's
information.
gonna be
compiled.
another 9 weeks.
No,
No.
she's gonna do it
3
3
weeks.
weeks.
Because
And
3
then
weeks is half
add-
of the whole
yeah.
process.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Okay,
The motion,
Yeah.
Yep. and is seconded by Nelson. Okay. City Council, how do you vote? Caps?
Yes.
Ingers?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Utility, Crawford,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes. Can you read the motion again?
Well,
Who knows?
read it again, please.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
To approve moving forward with a hybrid approach, which includes approving, engaging Thea Management Consulting to start a review, process for a cost of up to $6,000 with the city paying half and the utility paying half. Also to approve hiring Thea Management Consulting to start the recruitment process for the position of city administrator 3 weeks after the review process starts. And that is also with the city paying half of the cost, the utility paying half of the cost, the total cost not to exceed $18,600.
Okay,
Yeah.
did I say
yes,
Dan?
yes, I said yes.
Okay, Belden
Yeah.
and Avey, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Marquita.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. D, utility infrastructure project, financing scenarios, can't even talk tonight, Chip Salters. I'll let you have the floor.
So I appreciate everyone's time on this. If I might make offer a suggestion, Jared's 4.5 hours away. Do you mind us covering everything during this topic? And that means just talking about the basic need for the substation. And the reason it's relevant, I think it's really a question for you, Mr. Mayor. If the city's asked to do any financing for that, I think you're gonna wanna know about the project.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Chip, can you excuse me for 1 minute? I just want to make sure, is it all right? I'm going to head out and start getting.
Don't guess that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've got work to do.
Just to clean up something, Forrest had sent me a message on the Travel America, that you're waiting on a DOT traffic study to get before street project cost or no. So just so everybody has that. Got that, Matt? Jared, you want to go ahead? You got, I think everyone knows, the council might not know, but the folks at DGR Engineering have worked for the utilities for a long time. And you work with a ton of electric utilities across the state, are really the best electric engineers in the state that I've ever worked with, so. I think Jared's gonna go through this and review some information about the north substation right here, and, fire away.
Thanks. Nice meeting, council. Thank you for having me. Pleasure. Board, good to see you again. I think it makes a lot of sense that we bring the council up to speed on kind of a review of the project as well, so I'm glad to be able to address that. So today, I guess what I'm here to present on is a couple things. We did some engineering analysis that kind of ties into the prospective Travel America complex. We were asked to look at what that new development situation looks like, as well as another development that has, I believe, building permit is in the works, et cetera. But it's Lumen, I believe CenturyLink, that facility is also expanding. So what we want to do is give an update on that analysis, real brief. But that ties into, of course, the recommended improvements that we've been discussing and talking about for a few years now. So anyway, then at that point, after I present updated information on the electric projects, Chip's gonna explain some of the financial scenarios, and then we'll just talk about next steps. With that, real briefly here, I don't want to bog anything down, but at the end of the day, we looked at the lumen growth there, kind of center part of the city, and then the Travel America, multiple scenarios there. I think Mr. Funk there informed people of some scenarios with just some base load plus potential EV fast chargers. So we looked at those scenarios that were presented in that email. And then I guess the idea is to identify any limitations to the electric system might have for the community with regards to those new loads, and then basically just see what that all looks like in terms of the overall electric plan. So the slides are in front of you there, so I guess in slide 4, if you want to go to that, just pointing out to folks who might not be so familiar with, well, you're all familiar with the town, but anyway, you have the Lumen expansion, that's roughly just kind of southeast of here along this major road here. Yeah, this one here. And then we have the Travel America, obviously, is on the south side of the interstate there. What we're looking at, based on preliminary plans and correspondence that Pat has provided us from Lumen and Travel America, are roughly about, we estimate about 150 kW of new peak load at that Lumen facility. It's a CenturyLink kind of a server house deal. They're planning to basically double that. So we estimate that to be around 150 kW of new peak load. Travel America, it's a little more complicated. The base Travel America store, we'll call it, and it sounds like there's gonna be also like a truck service station, like, so potentially 2 facilities. We don't know yet, haven't seen the plans, that's still in the works, but the base store, we expect to be around 300 kW, a little bigger than the existing Quick Star, perhaps. Anyway, we kind of looked at some similar developments and kind of have an idea on that. So not really a big deal there. Where things get a little more complicated, I guess, or sensitive with regards to electric capacity are the EV fast chargers. They're about 600 kW a pop, so there's like 450 kW chargers there, and they're really big loads when they're online. We have some communities that have high usage, others we're not so sure it's high usage. So anyway, it's hit and miss on that in terms of energy sales, you know, kind of from that angle. But they talked about maybe 1 to 2 to even 3 of those charger stations. We looked at all those scenarios. These are all estimated loads. They don't have the design completed yet. And then just for kind of some background, our existing system peak now in Stuart is basically just shy of 4 megawatts or 4,000 kW. So that's where we're going to start, and then we add those loads to that existing peak. So I have a chart here. It's on slide 6, so you guys can look at that and follow along. But so scenarios up to 2 EV fast chargers, it's a tolerable situation for Stuart, meaning on a normal, nice day, everything's going great, good peak load, potentially, you can handle that significant development without major structural changes. When you start looking at reliability standards and what you want to design your electric system with some contingencies, some backup reliability, you know, you're basically at the capacity today of what the north sub can back up. So if something were to happen to the switchgear at the south sub, you'd be relying on the north sub to carry the town, and we've exceeded that capacity now with these developments if they do come to fruition. So the south sub, just for what it's worth, has a rating of 6.7 megawatts. So that's kind of your primary unit there. It's the newest transformer. With these developments up to, with the 3 chargers and the Travel America, the full complex build out, that's a significant load increase of with Lumen, it'd be 2.3 megawatts of load addition, which is significant. That's 60% or 50% growth for your town overnight. I'd say that that's not likely. I'd say that, and we're not gonna, talking with the engineers, we're not gonna like promote the idea that they should put EV chargers there. We're gonna stay out of that. They can put up to a couple in the meantime. Really depends on where those loads, how heavily they're utilized. You're on I-80, so that is, you're closer to Des Moines than some other small towns, so there's a potential there of some significant load growth. We're gonna recommend no more than 2 EV chargers max at this time. I don't think that that's gonna
Is
be.
there still interest from Quickstar or others for their own EV chargers?
Haven't heard anything recently, because the federal program has quieted down or been quashed.
Well, they got rid of the tax credit for EV cars, and Tesla sales are down 10% year over year, so.
Oh, there was actually a funding from the federal government for these chargers, is what got canceled.
Yeah, and that got canceled.
Right.
Yeah, up in Minnesota, you know, they're still doing them. We're
Well,
putting in
that's
Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're not gonna get all worried about the EV chargers. Even if they go in, their costs gotta outweigh the benefits. But Pat brought up a good point. He's like, what if they do put in one charger and they're being utilized? They're gonna wanna probably put another one in. Then maybe the Quick Star, maybe then they start looking at it as a draw. I don't know how that's gonna play out, but it's a feasible scenario
That
that,
still has to go through the controls of the utility board, the
Yeah.
utility superintendent, correct? Isn't there a
Yeah.
permitting process for that?
there's not a permit process. They usually ask, hey, can you support this? And then the utility can say yay or nay, right?
My only point was the residents shouldn't have to pay for EV chargers on the interstate. That's, you know, that type of ding
Yeah.
against your ability to generate.
Problem is because the IUC might have issues with that because it's in your footprint. You might, I'm not seeing it pressed right now, but if they want to develop it, that's a question that needs to be answered is are you required? I think the appropriate play here as a municipal, or what I would do, is have an EV charger rate, a different user class, that they pay all that infrastructure cost. That's how I would handle it.
Yeah, that's what
What if
It's
they-
not happening, so it's hard to do it, and,
Sure.
you know.
What if they put it in and then they decide they're not gonna use it anymore, and
Exactly.
but you've already put the extra infrastructure in
Yeah.
to build for it, and then they stop paying for it.
Yeah, and exactly, that's why you need a different rate class. You can't just do that under.
But he's saying there'd be no revenue off that rate
Right.
class because they wouldn't use it. I mean, that's,
So that rate class, with that, you would need contribution to construction costs that they should cover. They should pay for that.
Front, like transformers.
Correct.
big things.
They would pay for that, in my opinion. I don't wanna get down an EV discussion, because I
Right.
don't
Yeah,
think
me
it's
neither.
close. I don't
Me
think it's
neither.
happening,
Yeah,
so.
it's-
Anyway, that's how I'd approach it is, anyway, what we're looking at is what are the limits today of these guys here that ties into Matt's request there. You can handle it. We're already past the point of whether the EVs go in or not, even if just Quick Star, even if the Travel America, just the base store and the Lumen thing happens, you're looking at 4.4 megawatts of growth on your, of 4.4 system peak, 4.4 megawatt of system peak. So that's where we're at. You can handle that. It just gets to the discussion of how essential is it to have investment into the north sub. So just I put a slide in here just to show people where the load, it's kind of colorful, it's kind of confusing. But I got this vertical red line, it's the red line in the sand, right? So this is where we lose our backup capability at the north sub. Okay, that's 4 megawatts. You're kind of right there. 3964 is the 2024 peak. 25 was a little down. But what's wild is I don't think that 2024 peak even had the Quick Trip up and running yet.
It did not.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where things fall this year. But you guys have consistently seen growth, even without major developments happening, in contrast to other smaller communities. I think it's proximity to Des Moines potentially, and just, I don't know, we just see you guys are kind of exceeding the load growth projections that are already very healthy at 2%, roughly 2.7%. So anyway, it's most communities they want that growth. I look at that as a positive thing. You're communities not dying, like some other smaller ones that are maybe off the beaten path a little bit further. But this chart basically just shows, you know, the star pops up there. That's if the Travel America and the Lumen development happens. You're kind of way up in the air there. Just something to keep in mind, because you do only have so much capacity at the south sub as well, and it's just something that we'll just, every year we kind of look at loads and just something to be aware of, so.
Just for the council's, background on this, the backup sub still operates enough capacity in the event the north sub went down, right? So there's not a lot of
Yes,
communities
today.
that have that backup, right? Greenfield does, Corning, but some other communities may or may not offer that, right?
Yeah, usually you don't see the two substations or the dual transmission feeds with communities that are like under 1,000 people. The communities that have, I'd say anywhere from over 1,500 to 2,000 to, like Rock Rapids has dual transmission feeds. So if you want to get past the kind of the really small communities, it's kind of needed to attract any kind of significant, in my opinion, or at least how we see it unfold typically is, there's just a basically double reliability of all your substation equipment. So
And
yeah,
so
good
there's got
point.
an age issue, that's the
That's a big
that's
component.
the reason why we're here.
Yeah, so right now you're right at 4
These guys
meg.
don't know that as well.
Yeah, so right now you're at 4 megs. We're right at the cusp of, you get a hot year, you could blow that previous record up. So it's all weather dependent, you know, oddly enough. So anyway, review of the electric projects that we have kind of slated to discuss and to try to go forward with at some point here in the future are phases 1 and 2 of the capital improvements plan that we wrapped up a couple years ago now. Phase 1 includes north substation upgrades. So north substation consists of 50-plus-year-old equipment. It's the older voltage that now the distribution has been converted to 12.47 kV voltage. That sub is still at 4160, therefore it has 3 times the current, and thus that's why you're maxed out. You know, your connection there is rated for 600 amps at 4160, and that's where the 4 megawatt bottleneck occurs, is the tie between the two substations. It's 50 years old. It's been pretty good for 50 years, and right now I guess the key concerns are aging condition, and the schedule to replace that equipment is significant. So that's the north sub. That's the old plant building there where the electric utility is headquartered out of there. Phase 2 is distribution mainline upgrades. Those address the feeder system out of the south sub. While the south sub has the capacity, the feeders are all 1-aught coming out of there, and that means you're limited to 180 amps, and you have elbows everywhere in the sectionalizing cabinets. What that does is it doesn't allow, a mainline needs to have a bigger 4-aught mainline circuit backbone that you can transfer load between the substations and maintain better voltage, and there's more capacity too with it coming out of the south substation. So what distribution mainline upgrades entails is beefing up a circuit out of the south sub that bends down and around and connects to the other 4-aught mainline in the north part of the town. It allows for better load transfer and backup reliability between the substations, and then also increases capacity in and around the I-80 corridor there where bigger loads are suspected. So increases capacity and voltage in the south part of town. So one of the big things that we're seeing in the engineering side of things is the lead times for power transformers and switchgear, and basically everything is like, if you were to tell us to start design on this project today, the lowest bid transformers, actually the better transformers that you would get, are 3 years out plus. So if we had to get started today, we would order the long lead materials, get that stuff ordered, designed and then ordered, and then get the construction work done in between, other miscellaneous materials ordered, and you wouldn't be online until the earliest would be the fall of 2029. So that's what we try to keep our clients aware of, is stuff's crazy in the electric industry right now. With whether it be data centers, whatever's pushing it, there ain't enough manufacturers of these critical components to be like it used to be. The good old days, you could do a project in a year. You know, those days have passed us now, unfortunately. Yeah, to anything that's done before 2030 would need to get going this year at some point. So just wanted to kind of highlight that. Phase one, we'd have kind of estimated from 2026, so the second quarter this year through fourth quarter of 29, basically. But this is the preliminary design drawing that we developed, expanding that north substation footprint, constructing the new equipment while still keeping the old stuff available as long as possible until the actual cutover. So you guys can look into those details and what that is. I know the board's seen that same picture a number of times, so I won't belabor the point. And then this is what the distribution improvements look like on the south side of town. We would be installing 4-aught main line with 4 additional tie switches. They would tie into the circuit that currently feeds south of the interstate there and provide good redundancy there, good reliability and backfeeding between the 2 substations and then between feeders as well. So the estimate really hasn't changed too much. It's tweaked up. I think it was around, I can't even remember the iterations we've gone through. We've just kind of been maintaining it and updating it. But we still have quite a bit of contingencies in there, 10% plus contingencies, but yeah.
You guys were at like 7.5 to 8 million at one point. Chip, do you remember what that specific was? Was there something?
That was the whole capital improvements plan. I believe that involved generation, where at the end of the 10 or 12 year period, it was like, well, this is something that you could kind of a wish list item.
Fine.
Yep. So that was that. This has generally been about the same. So we did also estimate burial of remaining secondaries, aerial secondaries. We did estimate that, and that was in that 800,000 to 900,000. I've excluded that from here, but that number is still pretty decent as well. So the biggest thing we're seeing on the electric side is that, yeah, you'll have incremental cost increases year to year. The big thing is just the lead times are just very burdensome for especially our smaller municipals and us as well, because trying to manage those projects is kind of a headache at times. But anyway, phase one, the substation component is about 4.8 million. That's still got 400,000 in contingencies. Just because the supply chain, we want these are budget numbers, so we want to make sure that you guys aren't put in a tough spot. Phase two, the distribution component, 780,000. So that's kind of the more minor point, but really does a lot of benefit to the south part of the system, beefing up that mainline circuitry that would tie in the north substation improvements eventually. So for phases 1 and 2, we're looking at about 5.7 million of an investment. So it's a significant investment.
Chip, would this be the single largest capital debt that the electric fund has ever taken on?
It would be for electric. Your water was more though. So it was 6.7 million for the tower and the water mains.
So the essential need, in our opinion, you guys have the dual tie advantage for your community. You have 2 69 kV transmission line assets. It's anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000 per mile to install transmission assets. SIPCO, they own that stuff. They currently have to maintain those. It's on them to rebuild those. You want to maintain that for your community in the future. The development, the good of the community, the reliability, those are huge assets that you guys want to maintain, is the interconnection to those transmission ties. That's a huge deal. System reliability, it doubles your substation ability when you need it the most. The hottest time of year, wouldn't you know, that's when switchgears get hot. That's when insulation breaks down. It's not pretty. And it takes a long time to fix those components is the problem. And I go back to the schedule. For the switchgear alone, not doing any construction with it, you're out 1 year to 18 months. We generally see the schedules slide because the suppliers are too bogged down, their engineering departments get behind, and then it's just, it's a challenge. So, community, economic value, I think it's clear it makes the community more advantageous for larger developers to come in and look for growth and to look for expansion areas. That's pretty clear. Another thing it does is it addresses the age and condition concerns at the north sub. So 50 years, warranties off at that point. You see stuff, you can keep it alive for 50, 60, but stuff happens. We did have it maintained and serviced. That helps, but everything's got a shelf life, and it's nearing that point. It served you well, and we're at that kind of turning point, I guess you could say. Without the upgrades, I'd say, and you don't do any of this stuff ever. You don't necessarily need to do it right now, but if you never do any of this stuff, you're basically just limited by the growth of your community. You're limiting the growth of the community, and right now we have this great opportunity that Chip's going to elaborate more on, and that the board was able to capitalize on, was the Iowa Energy Center loan. It's 2% money for up to $2.5 million. It's a pretty competitive application process. Stuart was awarded this recently here this last fall, and the big deadline with that is December 1st of 26 that needs to be acted on. So those are the high points. Any questions from the council or the board on what I just presented? You guys have seen it multiple
No,
times
thank you
now.
for going through that for everyone.
Yeah, good,
I
appreciate
guess
it.
my questions,
Yeah.
I know from my time on the utility board, there was a lot of concerns about the foundation and the structure of that building. It sounds like you guys are adding on to that, and everything else is kind of in a good place.
Yeah, so at the north plant, this is basically detached. So the plant itself, that facility, that could all kind of go away, and this would be standing alone, the substation. So we're just basically utilizing the footprint we have. It's not real roomy back there by the time we build this stuff. It's tight, but we still have safety clearances met. We're gonna do some things like increase the height of the fence. We think it probably warrants to be a little bit taller fence than typical. It's not a huge site, but you don't need a huge site, you just need that electrical capacity. And so
there was
Yeah.
discussions about moving this to another location as well, correct?
Pat put his real estate hat on and tried to do a little deal. Pat did look into that. You don't want to get too far off the beaten path of the transmission.
I just didn't know
And there's
if
a,
it changes.
Frank, there's a perfect green space,
That's what,
like kitty corner, and Pat reached out to them. I assume they're not interested, but did they ever?
will that limit us for enhancements down the road, or any type of modifications or working
No.
on it, or?
Unless your town triples in size. If your town tripled in size,
We're gonna have to have another substation anyway.
you'd probably look at doing a little transmission and then expanding it south, because you have the space there. You would just tie the two subs together and then add a line up at south. That's how I would do it.
So it doesn't limit us then?
No, it doesn't, no. Electrically, what we'll be doing is we would plan to put a transformer twice the size of the south sub at the north sub here. So it sets you up long-term for a long time.
If we go too far away and put a new substation in, then we gotta pay SIPCO to build line to it. We don't have that.
Yeah, transmission, if you guys were to just build transmission, that's one thing, but usually paying the utility to do it, they're gonna.
Would you say the cost of new transmission was about $500,000 a mile?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and that's if it's pretty basic, like if you don't have real tall structures, or if you can down guy everywhere,
If
it's.
we keep it where it's at, we don't have that.
Yeah, yeah, that's the biggest thing, transmission's the king there, it's expensive, so yeah, anyway, any other questions? I'll kick it over to Chip and.
So, yeah, real quick, I don't know nothing about electricity. I plug in cords and it works, right?
Oh, right?
So-
Nobody wants to know anything about it.
Right. So with this, you're saying that it needs to be upgraded and everything else. Does the generators, if something goes out in the middle of the summer, everything hot, and the generators fire up, can the generator support the growth of the town, or do we need to start looking at generators?
No, your generation coverage is fine. You can cover that, and that's a short-term kind of, it's a moment, it's kind of a real short-term backup. It's critical, it's great. Your coverage is good. I think at the end of the 10 years is where we approached, what is it, what is our existing, I'd have to look at the plans, but your generation coverage is fine. And
For the time being.
For the time being, yep.
But with any additional growth,
Yep.
we're gonna rapidly approach the
Yeah.
top end of our generation.
Yeah,
So
generation is good.
I guess that's where I was going with it. With the updates that the utility's looking to do, if another generator was added, would all the infrastructure still hold another generator, I guess?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you would probably put it at south, just because of real estate and everything, you don't have a ton of room there. You could use the existing plant building, it'd take a little bit further study on that, but, yeah, that would not limit additional generation. Yep. Yeah,
Thank you.
so, good question.
Chip, you're up. Well, if you don't mind going to slide 15, that starts to review some of the financing scenarios that we had put together. And so all three of them in row 6 reflect the Iowa Energy Center 2% borrowing. And they,
I'm gonna use that doc.
thank you. So that award alone will save the electric utility about $800,000 in interest cost over time. That, we can't lose that because the financing must close by December 1st. So for the utility board, that's a really important deadline.
What's the term on it?
15-year term, level debt service, 2%, $2.5 million is the amount that's been awarded. So the reason it's helpful to have the council involved in the discussion, is one of the scenarios, so I'll get to that in a moment. So scenario A, that assumes the following funding sources. $2.5 million from Energy Center borrowing, $1.5 million of electric fund cash on hand, and the balance of funding is proposed to come from a 2027 electric revenue bond issue for roughly $1.6 million. Those three sources take us to the $5.6 million. Scenario B has the same Energy Center amount. The cash is assumed at $2.5 million, and then that accordingly lowers the electric revenue bond issue. For the council to consider, the city, and for the new council members, this is important. The city of Stuart, nearly the entire corporate limits of the city are in your urban renewal area. And most of that area is pre-1995. That means it has no sunset under current law. That might change with what legislature is talking about. That's current. That's a great benefit for the city. The city's got a lot of funding accomplished for this building for a ton of other infrastructure projects from that TIF. There's not a whole lot of TIF available through June 30, 2029 is the problem. What I confirmed with the Iowa Economic Development Authority, if the city, and this is completely and entirely up to the city council, if the council were open to a concept of issuing general obligation debt to pay for part of the substation, that could wait until 2028. That'll still be within the project window. And that's, I have the sign off from that from the Economic Development Authority. That can be done in conjunction with the 2% borrowing. The question to ask yourself is, if the electric utility has the ability to issue electric revenue debt, why should the council issue general obligation debt? Fair question. The reason is there's a lot of TIF. The council might say, you've got your own mechanism, fund it with electric revenue debt, period. That's really a decision for, ultimately that's only for the council to decide if you want to do that or not. What's proposed is one near-term item off to the right in the comments. What happens when the city issues general obligation debt paid by TIF that takes away a portion of your tax base to generate and pay for that TIF-based debt? That means it takes away tax base from the city's general fund. Your your total levy for next year is proposed at roughly $15.50. Back out the debt levy part of that, it's roughly $12 to what you had mentioned earlier. So, and it's not quite, but it's roughly a third of the levy is lost to generating general fund dollars. So the theory is, and this isn't a third, so I want to acknowledge that. There's a couple things tied in here. So what's proposed is, is to the right, confirm it with Ash today, there's a shared services amount, is that the term you just used to describe the transfer from the utilities to the city? The balance on that's not yet been paid is roughly $450,000.
That's for joint projects.
Joint project, City Hall, for example, Wamble, the water utility.
This
portion.
building, right?
This building.
Or did we pay this off?
That's not.
No? We paid something off earlier, was that Wamble?
No, the one generator.
Wind turbine.
No, we just paid off something early, one of those.
Wind
There
turbine.
was one element of it, I think.
What?
Yes, there was one element that was paid.
Yeah, not the winter.
So, so what the city has as a need is, or a request, you have, your police are looking for more budget dollars, your EMS is looking for more budget dollars. A near-term solution to some of those issues that would be tied to the TIF use. The council would need to consider that, of course, and the utility boards need to sign off. The utility board can transfer that remaining $400,000 shared services amount to the city's general fund. Let's say that happens next year, fiscal year June 30, 2027 end. That's a benefit to the city. Do you want to approach things that way? Does the city want to issue general obligation debt for a substation project? A big question for the council to kick around.
The other part of that is the utilities makes up the shortfall on what the city would lose, right, from using TIF?
That's right. So if you skip ahead to slide 17. And this gets, I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but what's proposed with this approach, scenario C, on slide 17, is I think folks are aware there's a split of the franchise fee revenue. As it is currently, roughly 82,000 of that is used for the utilities to reduce expenses, basically. What's proposed under scenario C is that 82,500 goes back to the city. You get new budget dollars every year. It's franchise fee revenue. That would go back to the city, so the utilities would lose that. This city's general fund would benefit from that, and the city would get a $400,000 one-time transfer to the general fund. So 82,500 times, if it's a 20-year term for the debt, that's 1.6 million in round numbers over 20
And
years.
what is that ballpark, what would that save the utilities, the citizens? What would that save the citizens by doing it this way versus funding the thing? Those three numbers.
You bet. So that, and this doesn't align with the scenarios that are in the handout. If you don't apply any electric fund cash, and the utilities had to finance everything, three scenarios I've got here. New scenarios, not what's in the handout. If everything's funded from a bond market debt, meaning you don't have the energy center loan, gross debt service in the 5.6 million, roughly $8.7 million.
So when he says debt service, he's saying how much?
Principal and interest.
Yeah, principal and interest over the life of the bond is gonna make that 5.7 million, 8.7. So we're paying $3 million of interest.
So if you incorporate the energy center 2% loan, and the balance funded by bond market debt only, no cash, that's gross debt service of 7.8 million. So that's where we get the 800,000 round numbers savings, is 7.9 million roughly, savings from the energy center loan. So on another scenario, if you no electric fund cash, you do the energy center loan plus the balance of 3.1 million funded by GEO bonds paid for by TIF, your $12 levy is about a third of the overall consolidated TIF levy. TIF is the total levy less protected debt service levies and school pebble levies as plant equipment. So that the city's levy is a third of that. When you're pulling valuation into TIF, you're losing that general fund levy of $12 on that valuation. So to try to make up that loss in your general fund it's proposed to have that 82,500 come back to the city plus the 400,000 as a time value of money question. That's a huge benefit to get that money now as opposed to over another 10 or 12 years. So the benefit of the third, so you lose a third associated with TIF, the debt service on the no cash, energy center borrowing, geo bonds paid for by TIF, that debt service is about 4.8 million.
So we took, you're gonna have to, if you don't mind detailing out, how can a $5.7 million project only cost 4.8, right?
Because and you have to consider who this is impacting too.
Yes.
That's to be really fair about it. You're taking the levies of the school district and the county and the community college. You're capturing those in your TIF collection. So you're not impacting the city's levy. You're pulling the levies from those other political subdivisions into your TIF bucket.
And the school portion's managed, the state makes up how much of the school, so it's not,
It's roughly half.
so we're not truly taking all the money out of the school.
No,
budget,
the
but-
school district has the most protected levies of any entity with regards to TIF.
So the three numbers, 8.7,
8.7 million. 7.9 million, and the third, with the TIF, 1/3 allocation, that's 4.8 million.
thank you.
Real savings, but as a policy matter, the council has to decide, do we want to make use of TIF for an electric substation when the utility has its own purposes or to pay for that? You have a road project here, White Pole Road, that's contemplated. Up to you. Just laying that out as a policy consideration. That's why we wanted to get the council included, because you're at the heart of it, really.
Thank you.
So I have a question.
So,
How do these, we're looking at the overall amount of interest and everything, but what is the effect like on rates, like electric rates on this utility side, those three different scenarios?
in the scenarios in the handout,
It doesn't really, you can't see where it addresses that.
if you're on, let's stay on slide 17.
Yeah.
Bullet point number 5. Over the next 6 years, that's an average of about 2.66%.
But he's asking if no cash was applied, that we were comparing principal and interest, if you did
It's
that.
gonna be more than that.
Yeah,
I
so,
just,
I mean, is there any way to factor that out?
So you're saying the average
no,
2.66 each year? You're saying
That's
that
really
increases
important.
each year, correct?
each year averaging.
For how many
Some years
years?
are gonna be 6.
6.
Some years will be higher. Want to be very, now this, if you don't apply cash, your electric fund is really good because it has, I think, nearly $4 million of cash, over 4 million. That's awesome.
How much of that could we use on this project?
One scenario, I've got 2.5 million being applied.
So we're gonna borrow $6 million and use 2/3 of our reserves.
That's the
I'm
policy
just saying
decision for
usually-
the board. The goal was with the cash being applied, trying to minimize the electric rate
Rate
adjustments.
increases, yeah, you should, so,
Keep similar, what we talked about earlier with sewer, your electric rates haven't been adjusted. You've been kind towards citizens for the utility board, haven't adjusted electric rates since 2017. Even if you did some meaningful adjustments, average it out over, that's almost 10 years ago now. Average it out, that past 10 years plus the next 6, you're still gonna be under 2% for an average rate adjustment for that period of time. I would do 2 to 3% rate adjustments each year for the electric fund. That's gonna avoid a year where you have a big jolt of 15 or 18% for electric users. That's when you're gonna have citizens be upset. So we're simply trying to lay this out so you avoid a
the franchise fee just
Jolt like
increased
that.
everybody's rates 4% last year, though.
It did. So that's an important consideration. And look, folks, this is pretty complicated.
So what is scenario C then? What's that effect on rates?
Could be 0.
Well, scenario C in the handout is 2.6%. That's on bullet point 5 on page 17.
Scenario C where we're using TIF money, you're saying that increase?
That's right.
So what is the increase the same on the other?
They're a little bit higher. The prior page has, on scenario A, that has the least amount of cash, that's 3.66%. Let's round that to 3.7 on bullet point 5 on slide 16. Bullet point 5 under scenario B, 2.83%.
So if the reserve,
Some years are higher. I want to be really clear about that.
if the reserves were put into, what fund is that called at the state level?
You're talking about iPay?
iPay, what's
Yeah.
that pay, 3%?
Oddly enough, I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't think actually, we don't participate in that now, correct?
I live with
You
that.
can look at, you can look at, it changes every day.
What?
I live with that.
Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what
Okay.
you're talking about.
Do you have a sense what you're getting now on your cash in the bank?
2%.
Round numbers?
To
Okay.
average.
Daily rate for iPay today is 3.45%.
That's almost double. That's almost double.
So then on that other end, if we went the TIF route, how is that gonna impact our tax levy?
It shouldn't, two things that I'm determined to do. You don't need to issue the debt till 2029. That first year's interest for the June 30, 2029 year, we capitalize that, so your first payments won't be until 31, 32.
Okay.
My goal will be to not have a change on the tax rate and to layer the new debt in as existing debt drops off. I don't know how much this road's gonna cost, is the other unknown. So, Whitehall Road, and if the council wants to do that project.
Have to at some point.
So if rates haven't been increased since 2017, how long have you known that this project, does this come up before 2017?
Oh, yeah, good question.
So,
It should have been done, what?
This guy knows.
Jared, should have been done
This guy
10
knows.
years ago? What was done in 2017 that was not?
2017, they buried the north part of the system and converted it from 4160 to 12.5, which was necessary. I mean,
I thought there was some sort of expansion done on the substation, but not replaced at that time period.
No, there was kind of a patch job done. We had to connect the existing switchgear to the 12.5 infrastructure and the tie transformer, so that the converted, to connect to this north substation again, after we converted the north part of town, that's what we did. It was I think it was 50 grand or something in 2020 maybe? I'm going, yeah,
I
sorry.
think my question is, are we in an unfortunate situation where we could have been increasing rates slowly to offset some of this cost?
Yes.
And now
Yeah.
we are at a point where the increase may have to be abrupt because we didn't increase as we went?
Yes.
It should have been done 10
Exactly.
years ago.
Okay.
But at the same time, there's still an opportunity
Yeah,
to
exactly.
save money and benefit both entities.
And not
by going this
impact our
approach.
residents.
So, is it a correct summary that using a portion of future TIF capacity of the city to indirectly benefit the financing of the capabilities of the utility board so that we can reduce rates approximately 1% each year over 6 years?
You may not even have to do that.
Is that kind of close?
We haven't looked at that on a user rate basis. Scenario C gets you the closest. Scenario C shows no electric cash being applied.
I guess if I were.
It's been round numbers, I think that's about right.
Looking back to my days, if I were a council person now, as I was before, my question, if I were a council person, would be, what am I giving up from that TIF capacity in the future that the council would want to be doing, that they wouldn't have the ability to do if they gave away that opportunity to the utilities?
So that means the payment of this bond, if TIF'd, would be how much, 250? Or that 3.1, is that payment about 2.5, 250,000?
Probably 225 to 260,000.
Okay, so
I want to
then
be conservative.
ballpark, what would that total TIF available be in that same year? I mean, if nothing else came about,
That brings up the question of property tax reform, and if the legislature changes the consolidated TIF levy, one proposal is to, there's a 540 statewide school uniform levy. Your TIF levy consolidated right now is about $31. If that drops to $25 or $26, that's 1/6 of your TIF. So your TIF available. It's probably, I think we've 2.5 million-ish. And if we do 1/6 is 420-ish thousand. So you'd still have room to do it. I don't know how much this road, I'm gonna keep
well,
talking
you know,
about
I'm just
Front
saying,
Street.
if you
I
didn't
don't know
do
how
the
much that's
road,
gonna cost.
if you didn't do the road, if you have, 900,000 million left, and the utilities is asking the city for 250, then they would still have 750 left. Is that what you're asking? That's,
Yeah.
I mean, I see his point.
But
How much would
the other side of
the
that
city
is
still have
what
to
you
not
told
be
us.
worried about or be worried,
What you told us in the past, if you don't use TIF, you lose it.
which is a fact.
So,
That's true.
so you want to be using it as efficiently as possible. And if you have projects available to use it for, then it makes sense to use it, but
And this would benefit the city with the net cash influx as well.
It would.
And can this be made in a yearly deal? Is that a potential, that if that did change and it didn't work out, go forward, then?
If the city became strapped for TIF dollars, they'd either have to levy for it, or you could refund the city debt with an electric revenue debt at
Yeah.
some point in the future.
Yep.
How you formalize that, I think you need to involve some attorneys with that
Yeah.
discussion.
Which was done when we built the
if-
building and that type of thing.
If the city has no other projects besides Front Street, and Front Street cost is in a reasonable range, it can all be done, but you're taking away TIF for other city projects. And you're taking away city tax base for funding operations for police and EMS. The more TIF debt you have, the less tax base you have available for general fund operations for salaries, staff, and so forth.
But that would be backfilled from the franchise fee that we don't get, correct?
I look at that as you're backfilling the new TIF, really, is how
Yep.
I view that.
Yep.
So it's a constant basis versus what your current tax base is.
So you said like scenario C with a TIF, it would be how many years?
I think that
20?
geo bonds assumed to be 20 years.
20?
I'd like to see it be shorter, so it's more cost efficient.
Why in scenario C is there no electric fund cash being used? Is that just to keep the rates
It's
less,
to-
the
it's to-
increases less?
A couple reasons: to give the electric fund cash to transfer that 400,000 all at once. That's one reason. It depends what your philosophy is and what interest rates you're gonna do too. If you think you get a good return on your rates, maybe you wanna keep that electric fund cash and earn the 3.5% or 2% or whatever you're earning. So
More debt, more cash, right? Reserves, I mean, if you're gonna have.
you wanna have a ratio there. If you have more debt, you wanna have more cash. And then the other projects, generation-wise, maybe you can fund those from the electric utility from cash at that point in X number of years, 4 or 5 years.
It's a concept, it's all, I mean, it's literally just a concept proposal to not raise rates on residents, and to get you guys cash if it worked out that you needed that, that's all this is.
You're gonna raise them no matter what, it's just how much.
I don't think that's.
Well, this says 2.66, 2.8 something, 3.66.
You're gonna need to use
They're gonna
raise.
raise-
Well, you could do that on the business, classes, not on the residents. You don't have to raise them on residents.
I don't think you can throw that all in one class.
You could try,
Well,
see what it looks like.
but then on the economic development side, you're gonna price this out of business for attracting businesses.
Not if we haven't raised rates in 10 years.
You know, again, get out that crystal ball and shake it, what are we gonna have to look at in 5 years, 6, 7, 8, 10 years? And we've reduced our available TIF there, and tax reform, we have no idea what's gonna do to affect that. Are we gonna be bonding or borrowing money, and then we're just, this whole cycle, well, you guys get less, interest paid, but now we're paying more interest over here because we had to borrow more, and it didn't make sense to have you guys try to rebond for it or work things out. It just becomes messy in the end. It's,
Terribly messy.
there's no good answer to this at all.
Yeah.
It's,
Should've been done 10 years ago.
yeah.
I think one of the things that we've consistently heard over the last year is that there's instability in TIF. So I wasn't sitting at this table those months, I was sitting there and watching. And I do feel like meeting after meeting after meeting, I heard you saying, this doesn't look, 2029 comes to mind where I feel like it kind of leveled out. So I understand this then would all kind of come to fruition in 2030, but I just have this uneasy feeling about, did we just kick a big can down the road, then our, stability date moves out that much farther. So I think my direct question for you is, over the past year, am I on the same page with you that our TIF is not super stable for the next couple of years?
It's not, you don't have a surplus at all until through the June 30, 2029 year.
Okay.
Look, I try to find solutions for how this can get done, and then policy outlines, frameworks, you guys decide how you want to go. So the reason that the TIF is the most, would be palatable at all, is that it can wait until 2028. If you had to do it now, no wait. And then it's just a question for the council, do you think this is a good use of TIF? Considering the overall cost savings that we've talked about, which is darn hard to keep track of, but it is there, but there's a policy question there too for the council to kick around and the board as you evaluate the substation project.
Something you need to really take home, study, and make up your mind. You don't need to decide tonight.
Correct.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of information. I would take it home and I study it and try to ask Chip questions if you need.
I think you guys have already kind of made your, or had your opinions, right? I mean, the only reason I ask is we just found out about this loan approval, and Chip's able to come back and present. Jared's been here several times with the same information, so
The next step.
if this isn't something you guys are interested in doing,
Next
hope
step.
that way.
Super muddy for me.
It is to save money, that's the only reason. You got to hear 8.7 down to 4.8. In order to get from that point to that point, it's gonna get muddy. It's not gonna be clean.
It doesn't have to be money though, if we stayed out of it. It's easy to explain.
It doubles the cost. That's what it is.
But it's
Yeah.
crystal clear where that money's coming from and who's
Yep,
paying.
it's gonna come from your neighbor. That's where it's gonna come from.
And me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you.
Yep.
The key step, I think, for the utility board is we've got to get engineers and DGR going so we don't lose that Iowa Energy Center 2% loan money.
We've got time on that. I just don't think these guys want to do that, so it should just,
I mean, I think, the new city council members, I mean, do you understand how TIF is gonna fall off over the next few years? You've seen those numbers that, I don't know, Chip's provided that
Yeah, I feel
quite a few
confident.
times. I mean, if you understand that, and we understand the impacts of what we don't know that could happen. You
That's
know,
the piece
it's-
that's the piece that's really hard for me, is that those are not decisions within our control, and I'm not adverse to risk. I just feel like this is, there's just it feels like there's a lot of pressure, and with this unknown, the impact to the county, potentially little impact to the school, I don't know if I've made up my mind, but I know that I don't feel good now. If there's time to investigate more, or for me to ask, sit on it, I'm fine with that. Or if you need a decision tonight.
you gotta ask these guys. I just know that
Your next step from an engineering standpoint would be what for the utility board to consider on the project?
Yeah, so going forward here, you guys saw the timeline, it takes 3+ years. We're having a hard time reducing that time frame based on the supply chain situations. The costs are gonna be what they are, probably not going down. And I see these load developments, and they're not happening yet, but I see your guys' load growth, it kind of just keeps happening, kind of just growing,
year over year for the most part. That's where I'm just like, okay, this is the information. Moving forward, if we wanna get this stuff done by 2030, we'd need to get going on design in Q2 of this year. So I've provided Pat some task orders that would amend our existing contract, and then for the distribution, that's a new task order. We would need those to be approved and acted on by the board to get going on that stuff, because we are super busy. I wanna keep you guys on the list of things I wanna work on in the next year or two. But yeah, we're real busy. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. So my kind of engineering piece here is that the energy loan appears to be a great opportunity here. If you guys want to take advantage of that, we need to get started here. That $2.5 million, it basically pays for, it's a loan, I get it, but it pays for the power transformer material and the control building and switchgear. It's about right on the dot, that cost, and those are the two things that we need to get ordered. And then there's progress payments associated with that over the 2 to 3 years that we get it. You get, 25% upon issuance. That $2.5 million amount covers a lot of the upfront costs in that three-year period. So kind of works nice in that sense. But anyway, appreciate you guys' time. Pat's got the task order there. I also have additional copies. I don't know who all wants to see those, but it basically just goes through the technical scope of what we're gonna be.
So I have one question.
Yeah, you bet.
So if we decided tonight we're gonna move ahead with this project, how soon would we need to resolve how we're gonna finance it, Chip? How soon would the city council need to make that decision, whether they're gonna wanna go that route of TIF?
It kind of comes back more of a question for the utility board to say, will the utility board support it if the council tells you no on TIF? That kind of.
Exactly, what's our financial leverage at that point? What do those scenarios look like, rate impact?
To me, it looks like something we have to go forward with, to me.
Yep.
I don't think, either way, I think we gotta do it.
We've kind of tried to be, or I've tried to be strong on the board, and I don't think the board wants to be pushed. So, would I say you have to do it? Yes, but I don't like to say things like that.
I know, well, from my perspective, I feel like it's something we have to do, and we need to make that decision at some point, but how soon does the city need to,
I'd say the council,
assuming
the board is accepting the project, and you'll do it regardless, no matter what. I'd say the council has several months to think about it.
So here's the other question, the 3.1 is top of the house. If that spend down reserve was $1 million, to your point, we only asked for 2.1, does that change your mindset on, you still get the same steps, you can't clean them up, but you're less exposed?
it's just like a Travel America, you can.
Less
make it-
money. Well, I mean, this has to happen.
Well, on our end, it has to happen.
Yeah.
What's Blair's, 6 months operating, what's Blair's threshold for required reserves?
At the low point in the cash flow, he's got 1.9 million in the future, at your low point.
So he's maintaining healthy reserves.
Yeah.
So it's not a risky, it's a conservative, that's how we do that, so you have plenty of reserves. You got a lot of cash. You do.
Well, what if we use the higher cash amount
Thank you, sir.
and less TIF?
That's what I just.
Without any rate increases.
Do the high cash amount that you proposed.
You could. It's certainly worth considering.
Engineering viewpoint, you guys have a fantastic financial picture here. Your rates, you haven't moved them in a while. You're gonna have, with these projects here, you're addressing most every issue that I can conceive for the foreseeable future. We're talking past 10 years, who knows, we don't look out that far. Your generation's fine. To me, it's a no-brainer just because I see the bad situations. I see a lot of those where we didn't do rate adjustments. They didn't have anybody looking at stuff for 20 years. And then you're screwed. Then your town's just gonna go away. You guys are sitting kind of in the driver's seat. I know these numbers sound like a lot of money. We're assuming, in the cash flow, we're assuming 2% increases in your power supply costs.
So,
I don't know what they're
but
doing.
we're talking about one thing here, a person pays property tax, and property taxes are going up on everybody because your rate stayed the same and your valuation went up. So you raised property taxes, you raised franchise fee, which is an electric fund raise, and we got it on the agenda to raise water rates, potentially. So, though we haven't directly raised that rate, everything else around it is going up. So that's all I'm getting at.
Understood.
So if I can get from 8.7 to 4.8, I don't care if I have to, run around the building 100 times backwards. It doesn't matter.
Matt?
Why not utilize TIF, and then I know the fear is because the state's going to revise it or change it. Utilize the TIF, and if the state changes it up, then you come up with another plan or raise rates and blame it on the state.
There you go.
I won't pay the bill, sorry. We'll be in court on that one.
One way, but I like to plan ahead a little.
There is the concept in the statute, correct, the Iowa code, that you cannot, if it's encumbered, if the city pledges TIF, that it cannot be removed.
That's probably only applicable if it's a pure TIF revenue bond.
Gotcha. Versus a GO.
One last kind of technical thing, your 2017 electric debt has what's called an additional bonds test. That is, you've heard enough from us, I know, but that's gonna be the piece that will drive you to have to increase electric rates to the extent you do any electric revenue financing, including the Iowa Energy Center borrowing. You have to produce $1.25 in net revenues in the electric fund for every dollar existing in proposed debt. You can't meet that additional bonds test unless you update rates.
So go.
The rates don't have to be updated this year. I know there's resistance to that, and dang it, we're trying hard to avoid that. So, God, I can't tell how much time I spent.
So, back to Dan's point.
Just I don't wanna mislead you though and say nothing's needed. So
Back to
just-
Dan's question, when will the council need to get back to the utility board to say yay, nay, this amount, not this amount, zero, whatever?
He said a couple months.
You got that long?
Is the utility board still willing to go forward with the project?
How long do we have?
We'd have to see the scenarios on.
So can we, like, next month, put this on the agenda and?
You guys,
I'll have your scenarios then.
I'm here to serve you guys. It's a lot of money.
You wouldn't
I
have
am
to come
not.
back, it'd just be more what it's gonna do to rates.
Right.
The data really hasn't changed much. We've updated the slides. We kind of
Well, you went from 8 to 5.6, that's a good thing.
Right. Some lines were removed here and there.
That's okay.
But,
So next month would be good,
I think so. I
okay,
mean, it's,
great. I gave him time.
yeah, I'd say, I gotta get going on, I gotta get going on design on this
Next month,
project in
yeah.
order to get it
Decide
done.
whether or not we're gonna
It's just 3 years out. From whenever you guys
We
sign
don't
that,
have a choice.
it's 3+ years.
I know.
It's just giving the council long
I
enough to
know.
ask
The
questions.
council
They're just getting this
needs
dropped on them
time.
today. We've been looking at this for
I'll come down.
We got plenty to do.
probably a year, right?
I'll
So we're
come
Good.
down.
I appreciate your guys' time.
Yeah.
So maybe if you have those numbers, then give them to the council too, so they could see the differences as well.
Be very specific on
I
what you're
know.
looking for.
If-
And does the council want this?
If we finance that on our own, with that's information that they may want to understand the scenarios we just looked
You
at.
wanna see the rate adjustment?
Yeah, it does the rates. I
Well,
mean,
they may wanna see how it affects their end of
See
it.
the rate adjustment.
Yes, right.
you do or don't?
I'd love to see the rate.
Yeah,
adjustment.
yeah, that's what I mean, so the rates that pay the 8 million versus the rates that pay the 4.8. And, I mean, just compare them equal, like no cash down and then the same cash, and if we just ask for 2 or whatever, I don't know.
And also, Travel America's a new huge customer for us if they come on board, so that's new revenue for us as
It
well.
is. I don't think we've assumed that much on.
Yeah, so your guys' energy, the peaks, with different communities, the peaks can go up and down, right? Because that's what you gotta build plant for, to accommodate peak demand. You guys' energy sales have increased right along.
Right.
So it's been positive. So mostly, from our standpoint, a lot of positive growth. I mean, if Travel America, if those EV chargers are gonna be, you guys got your adjusted rate for those? That's not driving it, I'm not going there, but there's a lot of good things about just having that growth, and the balance sheet looks better with the growth too, so, anyway.
Thank
All right,
you,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Do you
it.
need me to stay for anything else?
You happy time. Gonna go home.
You don't
Chip.
Thank you.
Chip, thank you for everything that you have done for us, for me.
Of course.
Thank you
Yeah,
for all the good comment. That might be my last
Yes, I
meeting.
do.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you all.
Of course.
I heard a lot of good stuff about me tonight, so I'm gonna go home right now before they say something else.
Ash,
Thank you.
been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Be nice working with you, but I'm still
Likewise.
gonna be talking to you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chip.
Just thank you, council and mayor, for entertaining the idea
Yeah,
at least,
absolutely.
so appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time to look at it.
Okay, city council adjourned.
And we're gonna take a recess.
I stop at noon.
Yes. Good. We will. Yeah, that's good.
Are you actually leaving for Florida tomorrow?
You see, she said I don't have to be here. So, yeah, I'm going on the 8th, March 8th.
So you'll be here tomorrow?
I will be here, yeah, in the next few weeks. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Do you need anything?
No, not tonight.
Not today.
Driving all the way
Oh, yeah.
tonight?
Thanks.
Oh, my.
So you're approved.
Congrats. I'm gonna try.
stay living here?
I'm living in Des Moines, yeah. Des Moines is home for me, yes, yeah. Thanks, sir.
Lost communication.
Yeah, go
Here it's
there.
nice this time of year.
Vacation.
As long as there's no cold snaps, right?
I did.
She said this is an updated.
Oh, okay.
What's the difference, isn't it, Ash?
It's,
8 to $4.8 million. Isn't that crazy?
what?
And just interest costs. Interest costs on a bond. Ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just trying to bring it to head. If they don't wanna do that, then just say you don't, so Chip can tell us what the rating facts are
They
gonna be.
need to time to
Look at it, yeah,
It's kind of, I think, you might get a decision tonight at the evening. So
That could
we
be,
have time,
yeah.
and,
I was just, since,
look at it.
I just don't, we don't need to schedule special meetings just to do this. They've gotta do it. And make it.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it quick now.
Yes.
Yeah.
No kidding. I knew this was gonna be a long one.
Already got one of these.
That's an update.
That's the balance, but it's worth more to them now than over 20 years.
Right, I mean, is that what our balance is?
Yeah, 4 or 5, something like that. Yeah, but they need cash now. You're in favor of this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I should have asked, but
But it's okay.
they're just getting this tonight, you know?
Yeah, they need time to.
Totally agree, yeah.
What's updated on it to show the other one?
But if they're gonna, if it's a no, then it's a no, and that's fine. And we're still at the point where we have to figure out whether we can spend
Yeah,
it or not.
yeah.
One of those had us spending about 60% of our reserves, and we can't do that.
You know, me with the reserve.
I know.
I-
No debt, no cash.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is updated. This one is updated,
I
this
just,
one's
the
old.
one that was emailed didn't have the backside for some reason.
Oh,
Some of the, pages.
two.
You
sure that insurance was gonna be easy.
Come on, Pat. Honey, Pat.
No.
He's standing around there doing what?
Ordering pizza?
It's not-
Yeah. I think the board should
We wanna go home.
Seth, we're done, huh?
So do I need to read all this?
Yeah, the consent agenda.
Or I can just come here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5.
You wear the batteries? It lasts a long time.
Okay. Number 5, consent agenda. Minutes of regular meeting 01/08/2026 and joint meeting 01/21/2026. Financial statement as of 01/31/2026 and bills as presented.
I'd like to make, or suggest one modification to that. Add a new account that would show shared services allocation account, which would be the 80% of that franchise fee. Sarah sent me the calculation of what that would be. Year-to-date, it's about 85, excuse me, if you estimated it off the 7 months, it'd be about 85,000 annually. So
Yeah, we're gonna.
if we could show that on our accounts, go forward as a separate account, call it shared services allocation account.
Sure.
That would be the only add I would make. I'd make a motion to approve, subject to that change.
I'll second it.
Okay. How do you vote? Crawford?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yep.
Avey, yes. Okay, number 6, United Risk Services Insurance.
I never thought that insurance would be the easy topic for the evening. Oh, you guys do a lot of hard work here. I want to, first of all, thank you for letting me have some time tonight to visit with you, and also for the years that I've been able to be your agent. I've appreciated that, and I handle your account with as much honesty and integrity as I possibly can. When I came last month, I did not realize that there had been a special meeting in December where you had had another agent come and present. I would have addressed some of my concerns last month had I realized that. So I want to first just explain that. That's why I'm back this month to walk back through, clarify some of the statements that were made, and hopefully just give you a better understanding of the choices you're making prior to you making them. My first thought is that I would like to tell you that the underwriter that I work with on your behalf at EMC, there were some comments made about underwriters or that they're possibly lazy, or that they're dishonest in trying to hide premium wherever they can find it. Your EMC underwriter that works on your account is thorough, meticulous, conscientious. She does everything that she can to support Stuart Municipal Utilities. I would work with her on any account, anytime, and I work with her on multiple accounts. So I just wanted to clarify for you that the people that are working on your behalf are top shelf, and you have great people supporting you. She also rewrites this each year to make sure that it's as accurate as possible and reflects both the marketplace and your performance overall. So I wanted to just first clarify that and provide some kudos back to her, because she does work hard for you. I also wanted to let you know, before I get into more of the weeds, that I do have a renewal quote from EMC. I don't have all of the renewal quotes from your cyber policy and the boiler machinery policy, so I don't bring a year-over-year or official quotes, but I will say that you're going to be really pleased with your renewal this year. It's going to go down. It's going to go down significantly. So
I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about that, and we can visit, once I'm done with what I wanted to say. If you have questions about that, we can certainly visit a little more. The underwriter this year spent a lot of time working through to make sure that this is competitive as possible. The marketplace is softening, which is good for all of us, as well as in your roles. When you sign up to be a utility board member, you're also becoming a risk manager. And some of the steps that you are taking and have taken over the last few years are really showing in your premiums. So that's a commendation of all of you and the work you're doing. The raising of your deductible to $50,000 last year, that sounds like it would hurt, but it shows that you're committed to retaining and taking on some of the extra risk, and underwriters and insurance companies like to see that you want to share in that responsibility. So that, as well as your low claims history and just your overall risk management, was key to seeing some of these lower premiums this year. So that's a commendation. Back to you. When I listened to this special meeting, there were quite a few statements that were made, and I did provide an updated copy of my letter, and I walked through each of those statements for each line of coverage that the utility board has and clarified for you. There were things that were assumed or said that were factually inaccurate, and so I wanted you to have good information and know and understand what you're actually buying and who you're buying it from. The equipment boiler breakdown policy was discussed, and that is with Cincinnati. It's on a 3-year term, and Cincinnati is getting out of the equipment breakdown business. They're just not offering it any longer. It's not available to certain agents and not others. They're just not going to be a part of that anymore. It's becoming more of a niche market. The good news for you is we broker that through Jester Insurance, and Jester has an agent who specializes in this, and he has been working the marketplace ever since we learned that Cincinnati was getting out of this, and he has 2 really strong candidates for insurance carriers that want the business, and Jester's able to package the different utilities around the state that work with them. So he's able to bring a good product that will have broader coverages and good premiums. And so that will be continued to be brokered through Jester. And outside of Jester, that won't be available to other agencies. So it's a really good place for you to sit where you have access to that ongoing, because it can be a really hard coverage to try to find on your own. The other comment on that boiler breakdown is that you can adjust the rates depending on, like, for actual cash value or change, negotiate, and actually it's brokered through Jester, and we're not able as individual agents to change that because it's a third party. They will offer the policy as is. So that's not something that we as the agent can make adjustments to. So I just wanted to give you that information. Your commercial, go ahead.
The question was, can we negotiate a property value? Like, this building is insured based on what they think it is. Can we negotiate that value through a third party, a construction company comes in and says it's worth $3 million, but it's insured for $6 million. What was presented was there's a negotiation process to arrive at that, which would save the citizens money. Is that a part of the process, or is that not part of the process? Or
yes, that can certainly be part of the process, not for the boiler breakdown policy.
No, not that, just anything.
Sure,
I've
sure.
never heard of that.
Do you mind if we take that back up when we get to the property?
Yeah, sure.
The commercial output policy, there was an explanation that a commercial output policy can do everything a property policy can do. So you would reduce your redundancies if you moved everything to your commercial output policy. Commercial output policies are for production and generation only. They're not, and they only qualify for the facilities that produce and generate. So they're not a broad property policy. So the only properties that qualify to be on a commercial output policy are those that are generating or outputting energy. So that's why we have a separate commercial output policy from a property policy. And we can't combine them. Those policies are strict in what they'll accept. They do have a lower rate, which is nice for your production, gets a lower rate on those specific facilities, such as the wind turbine, and you're generating here. Those specific facilities do qualify for that lower rate, but we can't move everything onto that. It has to be a specifically qualified kind of facility, if that makes sense. We do have the business personal property. There was a comment made that needs to be on a blanket, and this year's renewal does have it on a blanket. There's about 41,000 of business personal properties that specific to that output policy, and it will be on a blanket. So that has been solved. So that's one thing. Another thing that was mentioned on that. The third thing that was discussed during the commercial output policy was that there were some old generators that are not on the policy. They're specifically excluded. I looked back to see when and why they were excluded. It was before any of the current computer systems. We don't even have a record. EMC's system has been updated, so she said it had to be before 2014 that those were requested to be specifically excluded. If we want to add them back to the policy, it's not a problem. We can certainly do that at any point.
Cost, right? Yeah, it's gonna push.
There will be some
Yeah, I mean-
cost associated for sure. But just, we're all new we're all new faces to, clarifying things. Go ahead.
So our old generators, they got excluded. We don't really use those anymore.
So that's fine, it's just gonna drive costs up.
Yeah,
We don't need it.
I don't know why we would include them
Mhm.
it's not something we use. We haven't used them in 4 years.
Okay.
So,
So that at some point there was a decision made that they weren't going to be used most likely. If they were gonna be used, we can just amend the policy and add one on.
yeah, I mean, the reason we don't use them is they don't meet the emission standards anymore. With the higher emission standards that are getting put out there every year, they no longer met that. And to make them meet those standards, it was gonna cost us $2 million. And it just wasn't worth it when we already had other generators.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, since that was a discussion point, that I did look back to see when that decision was made, and it was made so long ago that we can't even find it.
Well, a lot
Yeah.
of these things that were brought up.
I know why it got.
It was brought up in such a way that they existed for 20 and 30 years. That's the context of how it was presented. It wasn't something that happened in the last year or 2 years. It was, in the end, like stale policy information. That's how it was presented.
Sure. So now, moving on to the property policy. There was a comment made that there's no flood or earthquake coverage, and that's a gap in your coverage. If you look on the last page of your packet that I gave you, you have last year's year-over-year, which we presented to you. And on the very top section of the table, you can see earthquake and flood coverage not included.
So if I read that right, it's 967 and 24 and then 3.1 the next year? Am I not reading that right?
For flood and
Flood.
earthquake?
I'm just, flood coverage looks like it triples in 1 year. I don't know why we would have that, but I'm just asking.
Flood coverage is not covered for 2024 or 2025.
I'm looking at the wrong line, I'm sorry.
It's something we can consider if you're feeling strongly about it. At this point, we're all new faces, like I said. You have different risk assumptions than people that were sitting in your seats previously. So they, at some point, felt it wasn't something they wanted to invest their money in. You may have a different risk that you want to tackle than previous boards have. So if you'd like quotes on earthquake and flood, we can certainly get those. There's always those chances that that can happen. We could get them and have them as part of your renewal just as a quote if you like it. If that's something you want to retain as a cost of a board and save the premium, that's another option, and that's what previous boards have chosen to do on those two. But it's completely up to you. Flood coverage makes a little more sense to me in Iowa than maybe earthquake coverage if you're looking at one. But these are all things that we can certainly add to the package, but you're not gonna see a premium-free adjustment for those. So just so you're aware that any additional items that you add to your policy, there's premium associated with that. There was also a comment on the roof resurfacing for roofs over 15 years of age that EMC puts on all their policies. And I did talk to the underwriter about that, and that's a non-negotiable for the underwriters. They don't even have the authority to remove that. That's an EMC-wide standard. The good news for you is a lot of your roofs got replaced in 2022 when we had the hail, so you have fairly new roofs, and possibly over the next few years that could lighten up.
So is that for all types of roofs?
15 years and older, just for these commercial
Right.
policies.
But asphalt shingles or metal wouldn't matter, it's for.
That's what I'm asking.
Like cosmetic on metal is usually excluded as well. So
Right.
if it's not substantial damage and just cosmetic, they'll probably not cover it.
But that 15 years of age still applies? Okay.
There was also a comment made about the location addresses, that they don't all match the assessor site. A lot of the addresses are listed as 911 addresses rather than assessor location. And Sarah and I've reviewed all the addresses, and there were no changes that we believe to be made. Like, for instance, your water tower here, the old one, it's at 219 on our policy, but the assessor has it at 223, which is the green space behind it. So if there was a claim to be made, there's not a question that EMC's gonna take care of that.
Should it be updated to reflect the right one though?
No, I checked with the underwriters just to verify if they have a concern with it, and they don't. Because when somebody's gonna come out and survey, they're gonna look where it actually is anyway. They're not gonna check the assessor site. There was also a comment made that there's no coverage for the wind turbines on your policies, and as I pointed out, it's actually on two policies. It's on your commercial output policy at $2,084,631 coverage, and then it's also on the property policy for some business personal property. So it's actually sitting on both. I'm not sure if they just overlooked it and missed that, but just wanted to clarify it is on there. And to your point, Brian, there is always, each year as these are reviewed, EMC has people look at the valuations to make sure that they're sufficient. There's also a 4% year-over-year increase automatically built into your policy to make sure that you have sufficient valuation. If you wanted to change it and not have replacement costs, and you wanted to change it to like a stated value for certain buildings, that could save you some money. sometimes actual cash value, if it's an older building that you wouldn't replace, maybe you change it to that. But for actual replacement cost, they do maintain that that it's within a certain limit of that replacement cost too.
So then, if we just thought it was grossly overvalued, that would be another way for us to save in a premium situation. We go get some third party to negotiate that, or how does that work? If the premiums were at 20%, right? How do you get, we're always told your only mechanism for lowering that is raise a deductible. Like, there's only one pedal to push. So this would be another one if we felt that was grossly overstated or something.
Yes.
Granted, COVID increased building costs, I mean, I get that, but I'm just saying that, yeah. Ash, what was this building financed at, 1.3 million? I think when we built this building, it was 1.3 million.
Yes.
So, I mean, if it said 1.3, it'd be really bad, if it said 10 million, it'd be really bad, so.
Right.
I
But
mean,
you're giving us an estimated replacement cost
yes.
anyway.
And it goes up every year
Right.
based on market conditions and what it would cost to replace it. So those are all factors taken into consideration. And you're all welcome to look at the policies at any time. And if there's anything that stands out to you that this seems way undervalued or way overvalued, absolutely we'll look
I'm
at
not
it.
saying that at any level, I'm just saying that's another option to look at that was brought up. Whether the values are right, I don't even know what they're valued at, I don't care, I'm just, bringing that up as an option if we ever had an increase, that's something that some board could look at to say, hey, maybe this is something, we don't need it insured that high. I think the depot was like that for a while.
Yeah. Well, that would be more like a building that's like obsolete.
Yes,
You might
correct,
decide,
exactly.
we're not gonna replace
Yes,
it, let's
correct.
just insure it at
Yes.
actual cash value.
You have liability on it only or something,
Right.
and the depot was like that for a while.
Right.
So EMC also does it every 3 years. They do a survey of all the locations on your policy. So they would come out and reassess and evaluate if the valuation is in line with what it should be for current construction costs and replacement if it was a total loss. So they do factor that in every 3 years as an automatic review. Moving on to workers' comp, that was another comment made about all the locations are not listed on the policy, so if employees injured at a non-listed location, then there wouldn't be coverage for that. We have 2 main locations listed. One is the maintenance shed, one is your main hub here, and employees work out of those locations. It's impossible to list everywhere one of your employees might be working throughout the course of the year. And the nature of the work is that they go wherever there's a problem and fix things, or they might be working in the middle of the road. There's no way you can list that. So this is the way that they use your policy, and we have just those 2 main locations they work out of. And then any injury would be a covered injury. So, any questions on that? There was some lack of clarity on that one, so I just wanted to make sure. Also, there was a comment about your mod factor's low and there was extra premium built in unexpectedly on the work comp. The mod factor is not the only thing that's impacted, or only thing that drives premium on work comp. There's several factors that go into that. So the underwriter has reviewed everything and made a thorough decision on that premium, and it's not a hidden somewhere where they hide extra premium. And we also walk back through their results to make sure that it's accurate, and if it's not, we do question it. So wanted to clarify that.
The concept was based on whatever that value was, it should have been a credit, not a debit.
You do have below a 1 mod, and so there are other factors that there was a debit assigned versus a credit, and that is subjective. It's not something that is just eliminated automatically. I'll try to go fast through these. The auto, it was suggested to add a symbol 10. The underwriter at EMC didn't even know what a symbol 10 was. It's a special, a custom auto symbol, so that was a non-factor. And then there were comments about the umbrella management lines, general liability, crime, and cyber, that all of those limits needed to be increased. And the comment was made usually at no extra premium. And I think you and I both know that when insurance companies increase coverage limits, there's going to be an associated premium charged for that. And if you look back on your table, the year over year from last year, at the very bottom of the second page, there was a higher umbrella limit offered, as well as an optional cyber higher limit offered. So we will continue to offer those higher limits, and if you as a board want to adjust them, you're certainly welcome to. I agree that cyber's becoming more and more of an issue, and protecting yourself from the variety of cyber types of attacks that could occur is wise, but that's a decision the board needs to make, and we will bring you increased alternative options for that. There was a comment made that there was no social engineering coverage in your policy. I just snapshotted. If somebody is trying to take money, extort money from Sarah, and they send her an email and she pays it, and she thinks it's a legitimate bill and it's not, that could be social engineering. It's happened to some of my clients.
That's what you just talked about Monday night, Corey.
Yeah, it happens. I had someone, a client that the person paying the bills got a notice that somebody wanted to change their routing and account number on the payroll account that they're being paid in. So she sent the form over, they signed the form to change the routing and account, sent it back to her, she did it quickly, and they never got their paycheck because it was all fake. So, I mean, those things happen, and we will continue to give you higher options, but,
The worst part is, it's gonna get more and more prominent.
Well, Corey said that they got an email, and it was from the Stuart City Hall.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is AI generated now, so it's a
Yes.
little more sophisticated.
Yes.
it's scary, it's a scary world we live in. One thing that we will be offering is higher deductibles for your linebacker. It's not the only option for reduction
Football
that you
insurance?
were.
I don't know what that is.
Linebacker would be coverage for you, your directors and officers coverage, so, there's not been claims. That might be a way to save some extra premium this year if you wanna raise that deductible for any potential claims. In closing, the market's improving. The profitability insurance companies are seeing profitability, which means that they're able to be a little more flexible in what they offer to you. Your performance is strong. They like what they're seeing with what you're doing, both with your deductible, with your risk management, lack of claims. So that's all a benefit to you as a client. The other benefit of staying with EMC overall is that in 24-25, I took Ash an $11,723 check. That was the dividend from the EMC's port and Jester's portion of what they gave back to the utilities of your premium. And all across the program, people got that, or different entities got that back. This year's dividend was $10,491.36. So that was a check I brought back to Ash just a couple of weeks ago. So you're paying the premium up front, but you are also seeing a dividend paid out if the overall program is profitable. So that's something to keep in mind. EMC has told us that no matter which agency you work with, one agent or the other is not gonna see a better offering. So if you think you're gonna move agencies and they're gonna bring back a far better quote than I would, that's not how EMC works. They're fair across the board with whatever agency you're working with. So they did clarify that for us, so I just wanted to pass that along.
Well, you could find things going on in the insurance, that an agent could look at something and say, hey, EMC, take a look at this. We want you to make sure that, I mean, those types of errors or even just a, hey, we want to look at this. We think this might be expensive if we have this piece of it. And we want to see that taken out and make sure that our clients know that that's what's driving certain costs. Like that's what the value to me that an agent adds to it. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're gonna be charged the same thing from the service provider, but I think if Holmes Murphy was here and having a debate with you right now, you would both have good points coming out from each other, and we'd probably be sitting here going, I don't understand what either one of you are talking about, but I think you guys both are professional people that know what you're doing. So I think they could probably come up with a document like this after today's conversation and look at this video and say, well, we're gonna counterpoint that, and we're gonna go out, and that wouldn't be helpful to, what I'm looking for is that our other service providers that come to us on a monthly basis, if we're talking about Forrest or Chip or any of the other people that, like, I feel like they're working for us first and not for whoever they're involved with, contractors or banks or anybody like that first. I've always felt like there's this, even in your conversation, it's like you felt like you needed to defend EMC and the EMC underwriter. It's like, defend us. Like, that's what I want. I want us to be the first people that are being, and I know you have, and I know you're talking about those types of things, but I want that clear line of, if EMC's not doing their job, I'm defending the city and the utilities first and making sure that we're getting what we need. And if there's a question on if EMC has something wrong with what they're doing, I'm not just gonna take EMC's word for it. I'm gonna go after them and make sure that they're doing their stuff. And
it's probably those things you don't ever see, Neil. And I'm not bringing the emails and the phone calls of conversations that I've had with those underwriters or with when the city's audit went up. I mean, hours and hours that we argued back and forth.
Right.
And so that's things that you don't see, and I could certainly try to quantitate that information for you. I do feel like I have the interests of this city as my primary focus. One, because I live here. I'm fully invested in making sure we keep your premiums low and
Right.
your policies the most accurate. I don't want a greenfield scenario here where we don't have the proper coverage. I want to make sure that you're properly cared for. As we were walking through these policies just over the last few weeks ahead of renewal, I did catch that they had the wind turbine out there at the wrong fire code, which adds extra premium. So I was able to question that and get the fire code. I mean, so it's just little things that we're doing day in and day out. So I guess I
just wanna make
I
sure
can
if
do a
you're-
better job of explaining to you how we're going to bat, and
I just wanna make sure if we say, we wanna look at ICAP or another organization, that there's not this, well, EMC needs to be able to defend itself on where its position is on, and making sure that they, like, if we want ICAP as another option for something that, to be quoted or something, but I know we can't quote it for now because of X, Y, or Z reason, like, that should be a number one priority, is like, I'm gonna make sure that the board is doing everything they can so that they can go quote with ICAP, and I don't care if the utility has ICAP, or if they have EMC, or if they have another provider that I'm gonna look for in another state that can do something, or some other arrangement. Like,
Yeah.
I wanna make sure EMC is not always just like the default, even though they're a good company.
Sure,
Historically, which, I'm not an EMC fan either, frankly, I don't care. So I know there's few players in the game, and the reason I have those feelings is because of issues with our former police chief, which we can get into the weeds in this if we want to. This is 15, 20 years ago, and a former firefighter that was injured. How those things were handled was terrible. These are our people, and that was not handled appropriately by a big company, and I didn't appreciate it. I will never get over that. So that's why I would share the same sentiment that he has about competition.
I'm even frustrated too, and I know this probably isn't your fault, but like, this is February 5th, and I'm not getting it until the day of the meeting, when I come in and sit down at the meeting to look
I
and
didn't
review.
even know that January or December meeting had occurred until last Thursday.
No, I know.
So I've
I know.
done my,
You said this last week, and today's the 12th, and so I had to wait another week to see this document before it was sitting
I
at.
just sent it yesterday. I was
Okay.
working on it. I apologize. It's been, I first learned about the meeting and then listened to it a few times to make sure I was comprehending everything, and I just wanted to clarify so that you're making an informed decision as a board. And to your point of ICAP, I am going to be going through their agent training this year, and I'll be an authorized ICAP agent next year. So I think that their special trainings are going to help me understand what they can offer to you better. My Joe Venz, who I work with, is already working as an authorized ICAP agent. We have access to that. We have clients who have ICAP. It's another good program. I would speak as highly of their underwriters as I would of EMC's. Different kind of program. They both have their strengths and they both have their weaknesses. And I would love another player in the opportunities in Iowa, because I think it does narrow down the options that boards have for this. And, you know, they can possibly charge higher premiums because there's no other player. But if there becomes one, we'll be in the market with them.
Then I got a question for you. So if you do ICAP, does ICAP have just all over have one boss or different bosses? Because I talked to the ICAP guy last year, and his boss said that they will never come out here.
I think who you talked to was IMWCA, which is the work comp portion of that. IMWCA is the Iowa Municipal Workers Work Comp Association, and they came out and did that on-site visit.
I don't know. I just know that he was on a conference call with, I think his name was Jason from Holmes Murphy last year, and this guy, and then another guy from Holmes Murphy and I. And I said something to the ICAP guy, because I've dealt with ICAP with being on the landfill board, and we never had no problems with them.
No bad experience.
And
I think if we explained, and it would need to be the agent explaining that it's a new board, there's some changes that have been made. I'm talking to Matt Funk about implementing a safety committee. So that's something that they'll want to see, that you're actively participating in a safety committee and looking to be proactive in building a safety focus.
And I told this guy, I says, if you come out, you let me know when, I'll be there. No problem. Because I need to talk to my boss, and his boss said, no way, no way. So I didn't know if all ICAP was one or
Well, there's the
what?
possibility that you could write all your other lines with ICAP, and then we look at an alternative option for work comp. because that was the work comp portion that we're not interested in coming again. And I still, to Neil's point of advocating, that would be something that we would advocate strongly for them to reconsider that and show them steps that the city or the Stuart Utility Board has made to address their concerns.
And I don't know the reasoning, I don't, but they just said absolutely not, so.
And I'm sorry to seem overly frustrated with you, I just wanna understand how, me personally at least, I can be a good fiduciary on this board. And not have, you know, it's always EMC and you can't go away from this or that because, you know, it's great to have local, but local can't be the only reason. And so I wanna make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and not just defaulting to something.
I fully appreciate that.
And
And I think you should do your due diligence.
And we really only have EMC or ICAP that we can do, right? Just those two companies.
That's the whole problem.
Yeah, just those two companies. Too bad there wasn't more of a variety.
It's almost a monopoly.
And no
You
other
know.
company in the United States is even contemplating breaking into the market.
There have been discussions.
I mean, is it a
Property in
possibility?
Iowa is not a selling point for a lot of companies. They just have a strong concern with, you know, we're so prone to volatile storms, and we've had so many significant losses over the last 10 years. It's really hard to get into property, and cities, counties, utilities, they have a lot of very large
Right.
property.
So even if on a yearly or every 3-year basis, it's like here's some evidence that we've gone out, tried to go out to market with you in other parts of the country, and here's their response that says, we're just not shopping around in Iowa because of X, Y, Z. And not just, I don't know, it's frustrating that EMC is like the only player to work with.
I can appreciate that. I will say we've had probably 6 conversations over the last year with other companies just to see what level of interest they might have and even taking portions of some of those policy lines and covering those. And I truly hope that there are other players that enter the market. And it's unfortunate because you really only have 2 choices. Any other clarification that I can provide for you or any other questions I can answer?
Thank you, Janice. Thank you so much.
Yep,
Yeah,
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Okay, number 8, employment attorney, human resources proposals.
Okay, the lady used to have a contract with us, retired, and we received 2 proposals for doing the same thing she used to do for us. If you would like, mainly she was doing the union thing for us. If you would like to have one of these offices to do the same thing she used to do for us, that's fine. We presented this information to the council, and council was willing to see, or to seek more information of getting, to see if these 2 companies or 2 firms will do more than just human resources for the city.
Okay, I got a question.
Sure.
I talked to our attorney yesterday.
Yeah.
They supply this kind of stuff. They have tons of different things that our attorney does. And if they don't do it, they know someone who does. So why go, my opinion is, why do we need 2, 3, 4, 5 attorneys?
What firm is
Let's
that?
just stay with the one attorney.
And who is that?
Huh?
Who did you talk to?
What firm?
Steve Brick.
So Brick Gentry handles this.
Okay.
So is that your motion?
Yes.
They're all good?
Is that your motion?
My
Kim?
motion, her motion?
Is that Kim's, is that your motion?
Yeah, it can be, yeah.
Stay with-
Okay, then I'll second it.
Stay with
Perfect.
Steve Brick.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's good. A steep brick is a city attorney too, so we'll take that to the,
But let's get that on, let's get this on record. Let's vote on
it
it.
is the motion.
Oh, okay, all right.
So we need a second.
I second.
Okay, how do you vote? Crawford?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yep.
80, yes.
Okay, that takes care of it, that's good.
Okay, number 9, Xenia rural water rate increase.
We got that, and we usually don't like to get that, but somehow we got that.
So that went from
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
545, 527 to 545, is that what?
4.5%.
4.5.
4.5, okay.
4.5.
And what's the net income on that water fund annual? Is it 400,000?
She gave it to me and I left it in my office. Just a sec, maybe I have it here.
Well, let's just do simple math.
No, she gave it to me,
Okay, so
but it's in my desk. We'll get it.
just a ballpark. Let's swag this.
Alan's a coach.
What?
I left it on my desk.
We got 96% of 400,000 left, right? So we don't need to pass it to the citizens, is what I'm asking.
Don't hold me to that, it's my last meeting.
Ah.
So you
That's
don't
if we accept
blame-
the resignation.
You gotta blame before I know. Well, you're good, you're in good shape, as you've been saying all along the meeting. Yeah, you can handle it, but here,
Like,
you can handle it.
His
yes.
last meeting, let's blame it on him if we raise it.
Yeah.
what is this telling me? This isn't, no, net income. The net income off of the water fund model, I believe, is about 400,000 in net income. Is that,
Yes.
are you close?
yes,
Are you
yeah,
good?
that's
Okay.
what you asked
This
for.
isn't that.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
we would have 96% left of the 400,000.
Yes,
Ish.
yes,
Because not all the costs would be associated, but it would on our
yes,
supply.
yes.
So, we can absorb that.
Okay.
So what does a 4.5 increase in water rates actually, how does that affect revenue? Because it's not gonna affect our revenue by 4.5%.
Correct.
It's,
So worst case, you take 96% and then.
yeah, that's a lot. I have to be very, doing the calculation.
We shouldn't have let
We've
Chip
still
leave.
got a little bit of time.
Let's call Chip back.
You're in good shape, yes, you
Yeah.
can absorb this. I talked to Brian about it early, but just kinda, I
Go build a
wanna,
water treatment plant, is that what you were gonna say?
Well, to me, I would like to see it, is if we look at what our costs are every year, including
Yes.
everything, if you call that 100%,
that's
what
it.
we're bringing in should be at least 100%.
One of the things to keep in mind, if you do look at this, it shows the water consumption year over year, and since
Yeah.
we did the water main replacement,
Yeah,
our water loss has decreased drastically.
Good
So
point.
we're
Very good
actually
point.
purchasing less than we were.
I just look at
And
it,
this will help you. This
let's
will
not
help.
eat into our reserve.
Yeah, this, take it
Really?
and, take it home with you,
We're losing a
then
lot
it will
less.
help answer your question.
Okay.
What do we pay for?
Wow.
So,
Was that cost about $70,000 a year before the water line replacements, is that right?
yes,
Something like that, purchase water?
yes, I think the guys,
That's what I mean, but what is the number now if it was that before? I mean, you were able to measure that loss before the lines went in, and if the loss was,
Before we did the project, we were losing close to 20%.
oh my God,
And now we're down around 6, 7.
gotcha, okay.
Right there.
so we're in good shape, yes, you don't have to jump on the issue and increase rates and all this stuff, but I would say, in general, let's listen to Chip every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, don't let Chip make he sees the whole thing, and I would recommend to listen to Chip.
I just don't wanna get into thing like we are on the electricity side,
That's fair.
where we could have made a very small increase every year.
No,
Since-
but the other side of not making increase is you improved your reserves to sit back
Every
and
year.
relax and
Yeah.
say, yeah, I can do it.
Because our town's
With-
growing.
Yes,
That's the.
Correct,
yes,
and now we're
so
looking
there's
at,
two sides.
I mean, we're looking at a big increase because we didn't do any, where I think he said this project would have averaged a little over 1%
Yeah.
each year would have paid for this.
We should
There's
at
two
least
ways
be
to
doing
look
a
at it.
quarter to a half of
If
what
it would've
inflation
been done
is
10 years
every
ago,
year.
it'd be paid
Just
for.
I mean,
it
that's
this
why
time.
we need to have a plan that looks out 5, 10.
But if
20
they
years
would
ahead.
have started it back 50 years ago,
Not 50, even 10. If they would've done this 10 years ago,
10 years ago,
the cost would've been half as much.
yes.
and
They
the rates
still would've had
been
to
half.
raise, they still would have raised the rates.
But I still, I'll go back on my comment, I would say, listen to Chip on his recommendation. I'm not saying because we're not listening or anything, I'm saying down the road, Chip looks at the whole picture that includes city and utility. So he sees both sides. We are unique here in Stuart because we have city and utility. You don't see all over Iowa like that, where few towns, few cities, sorry, has that city and utility. So you have someone, even the next administrator coming, you would see him, the first thing coming here laughing, because what is this? Because he's gonna see two entities in one. The reason I'm saying listen to Chip is Chip is he has been with us for as long as I have been here. He sees it this way, both city and utility. He always look out for city and utility in the same time. I hope I didn't go off the subject or anything. I just want to make sure on my way out to give you that little recommendation of listen to Chip. And you've been doing that. Brian works with Chip all the time and has good relation. He sees things both sides, city and utility, and I recommend to continue with him on that. I'm done with this. So, any question about the increase of the rate? No, we'll move on.
Okay, number 10, certified site board discussion. Brian,
So I followed up with Amy at the state to ask if there had been any progress since we asked B&K to move forward on the site plan evaluation for a certified site behind the grocery store. And the answer was no, hadn't heard anything. So she further mentioned that there was a grant available that was open between January and April. So I had her send me the information. I'd like for us to apply for it. It'd probably cover about half the cost of what we've already approved. That hasn't gone anywhere. So today, I think there was an additional email sent out about status, but she fills the grant out. She reaches out to whoever we hire to complete that grant. So that's all I'm gonna say, I guess. You know, right now it is where it is. If there's any recommendations to do something else, that's fine. But I'm not happy where the status is on it. First of all, the information should have already been done, and the first phase should have already been done. This joint meeting probably could have covered where that should have been based on what we were told for timeframes, and so very disappointed that way. But anyway, the grant needs to be applied for, and there's no cost obviously to do that.
So this grant is just to cover part
The
of
grant's to cover
what
the
we've already.
evaluation. Well, there hasn't been any cost incurred.
Okay.
So my question is, I'd like to make a motion to pursue the grant,
Okay.
but is there any recommendation on any changes, or do we just stay the course? That's up to everybody else. I'm telling you what I've been told based on trying to follow up a little bit.
Okay, we have a motion to apply for the grant. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
okay, how you vote? Crawford,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Belden.
Yep.
Maybe yes. Okay, number 11, city administration reports.
Is the biggest test we're gonna have between the chairman and myself.
These are city reports?
Yeah.
Did anyone notice their city reports
The only one I know.
when they looked at it?
Well, anyway, we apologize for that.
We had city council's reports, not ours.
The city financial report. So about the utility, we apologize for that, but we give credit to the chairman of the utility board, Kim Evich. She got 2 points on that. So, I put the one front of you, the utility one front of you, somehow, that makes with all the stuff you have. But, yes, I put the utility one on the table. Okay, I'll go over it quick.
At 3:30 this morning.
I will make it as quick as I can because everybody probably wanna go home. We are, first page, we are at a 7.6 million in the bank. Next page, from July 1st to the end of January, between the beginning balance and the ending balance, we have a plus number of $287,000. Page 3,
That's the new.
we still in the budget. Our budget's 3.4 million, we spent 2.1, we still was in the budget. Page 4, it shows the beginning of January and the end of January. So the beginning of December, end of December, we have a loss, and that's because we paid the principal and interest on our loan. Next page shows a breakdown on the budget. We're still in the budget, as I mentioned. The next report is the delinquent account. We have two people shown on page 1 with a check mark without saying names. The next report is the delinquent account paid in full, no change on it. The next report payment agreement, we have 7. We added 7 with a check mark without saying names. The next report paid in full payment agreement, we have 5. 2 shown on page 1, 3 shown on page 3, page 2. The next report is budget billing, no change. Next report is season bankrupt, no change. Total collected by state offset program, no change. Last report is the utility employees report for your information. Thank you all. And hopefully, I'll be coming next time sitting next to the mayor and that guy, that awesome guy. Hopefully, I'll be sitting with the audience next time.
Okay, open, public forum. Corey.
Corey Kirkpatrick, resident of Stuart. I'm gonna take off my mayor's hat. I'll just put that off to the side. I do appreciate what you guys are doing. You're being very conservative with the money, watching the rates on the utilities and everything else too. And we can't take that away from you guys. You guys have been doing a wonderful job doing that. However, I probably won't make no friends. But at some point, it's the cost of doing business. You're gonna have to raise the rates a little bit. Do it in small fractions where nobody's gonna see big jumps on it. I'm a ratepayer too. I don't wanna see rates go up, but I also get what it takes to do business. So just take that in consideration. Just throwing that out there, but I do appreciate what you guys are doing. It's tough to sit in these chairs up here too, so have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Real quick, I just wanted to, I appreciate the mayor putting the public forum on the council agenda up top, so that if anyone in the audience has something quick they want to say to the people at this table, they can do that and get out of the way and maybe not spend 3 hours. So just an item for consideration that maybe thinking about putting our public forum up top too. So.
See, the only thing I don't like about that, and I did talk in public forum Monday night, but I was lucky because what I talked about was the next thing on the agenda. But say there's something on the agenda and they haven't talked about it, so how can you talk about it in the public forum? You might learn something and you might want to say something to add to that or something, but you can't because you've already done your public forum.
In a previous city where I was at, the way they addressed that was that during any discussion, if a citizen out in the crowd wanted to add input, they could be recognized by either a council member or the mayor.
Okay, but
And
you
then
guys
they
aren't
could speak.
doing that anymore,
I'm
are
just
you?
saying, that's a different,
That
was
all
never
depends on, I did say, kind of in my rules that if it's a professional opinion, the council can reach out. It's just to eliminate a lot of distraction and everything else. That's why the public forum went to the top. It's just like Mr. Crawford was saying, it's just so people can be heard.
Yeah, I understand that.
And the council's not gonna act on, there's no action on that public forum at all. It's just the people can talk, say what they need to say, and if they find something that the council is discussing and that they wanna add, that just drags on the meeting and it's just kind of chaos. So that was just my way of kind of honing in the meetings a little bit.
The way I understood it was, okay, so say there was something that I wanted to say further down from your public forum. I understood I couldn't because no more of that. So.
And this was another reason why I said, let's cut off the deadline on a Monday before the council meeting. The packets go out on Wednesday afternoon, and that should give plenty enough time for people to reach out to the council member, reach out to the mayor, ask the questions, and kind of do your research.
I asked
as
for
well.
that to happen, it happened 2 months. That's it. And then it went back to normal.
Well, I am in charge of the agenda. I have to approve that. The agenda is mine. And that is my, if I say that it's gonna go out Wednesday afternoon,
So-
it's going out Wednesday
But
afternoon.
shouldn't that be the chairperson of the utility
yeah,
board be the
yeah.
same way?
And that's totally up to
That
you
should
guys
be
as
your-
well.
That should be your
You
agenda,
know.
that should be your ownership and your review.
You could make the same
It
determination.
shouldn't go, I honestly thought that was part of your process, you already did. That you already reviewed that.
No, I never was
So-
told anything.
No,
When I came here to sit, I was not
So
told
from
nothing.
now on, you should approve the agenda before it goes out.
You can
I'm
decide
learning.
when you want it out.
You should approve the agenda before it goes out, period.
And it would be nice maybe to get our agenda before the day before.
Well, see,
Yeah,
and I
that'd
tried
be
it,
another-
and I brought it up, it lasted 2 months, and then it went back to normal.
Well, you're the chairman now.
So, okay,
And then
so,
Monday night, I did ask all the council members up here as they started trickling in, if they had enough time prepared, and they loved it. I got good feedback on it, that it did give them that time to prepare, because, just like the weekend, I get your guys' meetings on Thursday, but, for the city council having it on Monday, if people are gone out of town for that weekend, they don't look at their packets until late Sunday night or
Well,
whatever, so,
we don't get ours till Wednesday afternoon.
oh, sure. And
So 3:30 this morning, I'm looking at it.
the bare minimum, you have to post it out to public, 24 hours
Right.
minimum is the
Right.
minimum.
Right.
But I did check into that before I implemented that to see when that deadline was. I did reach out to our city attorney to ask him that, and the League of Cities as well. And they said, Wednesdays is fine. If you make your cutoff on that Monday prior, and if deputy clerk or the administrator can get that information out by Wednesday afternoon, perfect, do it.
So
And
can
that's
we do
why I
that?
implemented that.
You tell me what you want.
That's the same response she gave me. She made it work, and she did a good job
I want
at
it
it.
so we have it at least Monday afternoon.
Okay. so
Cause that
gets
gives you
delivered on
Tuesday,
Monday.
Wednesday. I mean, what do you got, Monday afternoon, fine,
Even another day.
Wednesday night
or
didn't work.
Friday?
The night before didn't work, it never has, I've
No.
asked for that before too, so,
Monday,
yeah, I'm with you.
Monday,
And then
that's your choice.
Monday,
the cutoff for submitting materials,
would be that Friday before.
the Friday before.
And
Or-
you should review and
Does that give you
approve
enough
the
time?
agenda
So that gives
before.
me, what, 2 hours?
Well, yeah,
No, if you have an
There's
emergency.
6 things on the
Whatever.
agenda
If
though.
an
what
emergency
works
agenda
for
item.
you?
Why don't we
You
go
can add
to
it.
the
And it's
Thursday
different.
We get
that's
some
the
of our
week
materials
before,
later.
just like the city council.
There's always gonna be
does
surprises,
that
but it
way
shouldn't be
on
uncommon.
Friday,
to
okay,
get it put together.
whatever
so-
will work for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Just do it a week
Ready
before.
for it on the evaluator.
You get along very good.
The concern, Kim, you do a great job running a meeting, and what I would not want us to ever get to is a school board environment where there's no public discussion on an agenda item. That to me is counterproductive. We're supposed to be here for the public, period. And if they wanna sit there, they wanna participate, I don't care. That's what we all signed up for. We're signed up to listen to everybody.
There's a balance, cause you've gotta maintain order, and you've gotta do,
And-
but I've been on both sides of like, absolutely so strict, or it just got chaotic.
Well,
And it's
the
gotta
cha-
be
you
in
control the
between.
chaos, but how often
And
does
it
that
has
happen?
been chaotic before. So what do you guys think about
I think you're doing
moving
fine.
the the public forum?
I think, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to see it.
I think sometimes people are just so tired by the end of the meeting, they're like,
Like,
public
you-
forum,
Get the heck out of here.
we just don't want it, we're looking at
Charles,
somebody
what do
that
you
comes to the
think?
podium,
I'm
we're not
tired.
even.
I've been up since 4 a.m., I've been sitting here for 3 hours around the hole.
He's hungry, he hasn't had dinner.
Okay, we'll move it up.
You wanna move it up, Charles? Are you okay with that?
Move,
Public forum.
You'll get your
yeah,
packet.
sure.
Okay, it's yes.
I am not thinking right now.
You're fine.
Move it up.
I'm an hour
I
past
don't
my
check.
bedtime.
Okay, let's go. Adjourned.
Thank you.
Going to bed?
Oh,
First I'm gonna shower, 'cause I haven't showered since work.
Tiring by never.
And then I'm going to bed.
Ever again.